would be a disaster, and it'd be like, well, now you got to find a new GM because whatever is happening. It may work. And I do think there's going to be a complete overhaul of the pitching development in the minor leagues.
There has to be.
And this text is bringing up a great point that is Lance Leipold a candidate for the Royals opening?
I think we have to be considering that.
Would he take the call? I mean, you got to take the call.
You got to take the call. I mean, it's all about leverage.
I mean, you can go right back to Travis Goff. Like, hey, Wisconsin,
Yep.
Nebraska,
Yep.
and the Royals.
I mean,
Big Ten and the American League want me.
these are huge.
You know how much money I can make there?
These are huge leverage plays for
Absolutely.
Lance Leipold.
Absolutely. There's plenty of NILs with the Royals. Those guys can make whatever they want.
I mean, think about how easy recruiting would be.
Totally.
Or, I mean,
more difficult.
Different sport, I guess.
Yeah, more difficult to recruit to the Royals, I think.
Yeah, good point.
Is it the same as maybe getting to Kansas?
Yeah, he's already rebuilt a program.
You don't get to draft players to Kansas, which is, difficult. But
sure.
So you've got that already in place.
The recruiting is just the draft.
Yeah.
I think the Royals have this.
There's a lot of names out there for who could be the next manager for the Royals.
Think with your heart. Think with your heart real quick, not your head. What's the name that would make you just the most happy the day the news walks in, we walk in here in the studio at 10 o'clock. Who are you the happiest to talk about?
Matt Quattrero.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
I'm just playing.
Do you think I would go like Carlos Beltran?
Literally, Carlos Beltran is exactly. It's. I think that would make me feel how I felt when they brought back Zach Greinke for this year.
Difference is Zach Greinke can struggle, and it'd be like, yeah, but this team isn't really doing a whole lot. And I remember how awesome Zach Greinke was and how much fun it was. The team sucks with Beltran. You fire him.
Right.
And it's like, I loved Beltran. He's one of my favorite all-time Royals.
I see. You're not willing to risk the retrospective.
I didn't like the hiring of Kim Anderson. It was obviously a disaster, but the younger generation of Missouri fans only see Kim Anderson as a failed basketball coach instead of a guy who spent 40 years of his life playing and coaching and sitting next to Norm Stewart and being an ambassador and caring about the Mizzou brand for a long time. They see him as an awful coach. That guy sucks. He was terrible. That's what they remember.
Okay, so let's flip it on its head here.
Yeah.
Trey Hillman, round 2.
Hell yes, let's go.
No bad memories to corrupt.
Totally.
All uphill from here.
Yeah.
Bring back Tony Pena, put him on the bench. I mean, come on. Maybe it's the redemption tour for former Royals managers. Or you could explain Matt Quattrero to me, because I think this is interesting.
Beltran, Raul Ibanez, those are names that I think a lot of Royals fans would like to see in a Royals uniform again.
It would be fun.
On the bench. Pedro Grifol is a guy that, is certainly going to be a candidate, I think for sure.
Another example of being able to hire from within without hiring a clone of the guy you just fired.
Yeah.
I think he would be in that category.
The reason I go with Matt Quattrero is somebody that since 2014 has spent his career in the last 8 years with the Cleveland now Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays. And the reason I think it's probably he'll be a candidate that will be interviewed and talked to and maybe one of the final candidates is because John Sherman spent 2 years as part owner of the Cleveland Guardians while Quattrero was the hitting coach under Terry Francona. Now, do you want to go somewhat like in football, you're like, in college, I got to hire an offensive guy in college.
Right.
With the Royals, do you go, we got the offense taken care of. I need a pitcher.
Yeah.
I need Brian Bannister here as my manager. I got to go a pitcher here and understand that. I don't know that it works the same with Major League Baseball. Just hire the best guy that understands how to implement the things that you want as an organization. And that's why I think Quattrero would be a guy, and analytics-driven, with the Guardians, with the Rays, now bench coach with the Rays, but hitting coach with the Guardians.
I don't know. I didn't hear if you mentioned this name or not, but it's from a tweet from John Morosi here that Clayton McCullough, the Dodgers' first base coach, is among the candidates.
Yeah. Yep, he's one of them. I believe Andy McCullough is also part of that group.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't he be?
The other McCullough didn't show up in Lesky's article about managerial candidates, so I'm against it. Yeah, I'm against it until Lesky tells me it's okay.
So here are the names, and Lesky has a ton of names.
Legit,
ton of names.
like 2 paragraphs on like 15 guys.
Yes. And I think that's deeper dive into, I specifically only cover the Royals. It's what I do. It's my life. Here are all the different names that I think could be part of the search, that could be part of the coaching staff. Whereas I believe Andy McCullough is naming a few names that he believes these are guys that are going to get a call. These are guys that you would think around Major League Baseball circles are kind of the next guy, or have been viewed as the next guy for a little bit. So
Lesky mentions Will Venable. I thought he was a football coach.
Yeah, well, his brother. Well, I'll tell you this: the defense won't be all that great for the Royals. It'll look like a really good defense. Boy, that's this year. You start the season going, they might have one of the best defenses in Major League Baseball. The crap.
And not having an S at the end of his name would make you think it's not the same guy, but that's just a smokescreen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the S is silent.
Exactly.
So Andy McCullough puts a list of managerial candidates, and these are in alphabetical order. David Lesky's are in alphabetical order as well. It's not in a order of these. This is 1 through, I think, 35, the names for him.
It seriously might be. I'll count them.
So McCullough has Joe Espada, Houston bench coach. George Lombard. Heck, Lombard coached her. Detroit bench coach. George Lombard. Under A.J. Hinch. Clayton McCullough, Dodgers first base coach. He interviewed with the Mets for their job. Matt Quattrero, Rays bench coach, and mentioned that 2 years with the Guardians while Sherman was a manager, was part owner there, and 2 organizations that he's been in the big leagues, Cleveland and Tampa. 2 organizations that the Royals, when you're looking at small market payroll, who are you going to emulate, and how do you build organizational structure? They seem to have consistency every single year, where John Sherman, in his line of Dayton talks about what championship teams look like, I'd like to see what a wild card team looks like. You know, the consistency of what Cleveland and Tampa will at least present you. If they're not winning a division, they at least present you with, this is also what a wild card team looks like each and every year. Mike Schilt, San Diego third base coach. He was, people might remember him as the Cardinals manager who was fired. So not sure you want to go down that route again.
Yeah,
even though Kansas went Buffalo head coach again.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't mean it's going to be the same.
I am more willing to abide by GM being Dayton's former number 2 guy than I am former fired Cardinals manager. That would feel really bad.
Will Venable, we just talked about, Boston bench coach under Cora. Dusty Wathan, that would be John's son. Philadelphia third base coach. And then he has Walt Weiss. So with the Rockies, it's at one point, he's the Atlanta Braves bench coach. So if Dayton were the GM, probably go Atlanta. That would probably be the connection there is, hey Braves organization, who do you like? Who do you think is good? Let's go ahead and get that guy.
Just give us a guy that you won't miss, but we'll like having.
Yeah. But Lesky mentions Beltran and Raul Ibanez, Carlos Fables, who's with the Dodgers as the third base coach with the Dodgers, and been with them for a long time.
Lesky's list goes 22 deep.
22.
He has a full NFL field of managerial candidates here.
His managerial candidate list can drink legally.
Yes, with some room to spare.
That's exactly right. He no longer needs a fake ID. So yeah, he's got a lot of names. If you want to see all different types of names, David Lesky's got the list there.
Inside the Crown is the name of the Substack.
Absolutely.
Good stuff by Lesky.
And Andy McCullough has the more of some of maybe just the surface, like these would be the obvious candidates that somebody would go and look at.
Also the source of the snippet we read earlier.
Yes.
That's all up in the Athletic from Andy.
That the changes are not going to end with Mike Matheny.
Right.
That organizationally it's going to be that. And I think a snippet from David Lesky's piece is that the Guardians, every single level of their minor leagues, it's like 15 games over 500 at least.
Wow.
I might be wrong on the number of games.
I'm Control F the way through this.
I might be wrong on the number of games, but it's essentially like organizationally. Now, single A, having a winning record, does it matter for the big league club? Sure. I don't know. But it certainly seems like there are players in place that continue to move up the pipeline that are winning, and typically you win because you have good players.
And also, like, being used to winning at every level, probably not a bad cultural thing in a baseball organization.
Not a bad thing
I'd
either.
take it if all things being equal, I'd rather my minor league teams win.
Yeah, I'd rather the major league teams win if I had my choice.
Okay, I mean, look,
win.
If I had all the yeah, sure, I wish the moon was made of cheese.
We'll take a timeout. We'll wrap up this hour next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Text says, love you guys, or excuse me, says like you guys. I apologize. Another text said, love the show. Sorry, I've combined those. I apologize. Like you guys. I don't want to exaggerate.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll talk with Matt Lane coming up in the next segment. Text says, Jace Tingler, who was with the Padres, local guy, was there for a couple of years. Was it last year that it was the collapse down the stretch and it cost him his job? It's also the controversy around Tatis swinging, 3-0 with bases loaded, and he wasn't happy about that.
You know what, Jason? I'm glad we've got several minutes left in this segment, so I can talk about what really grinds my gears.
Says, these guys you mentioned, nobody knows. Beltran for sure. Joe Madden? It can't be Joe Madden, because remember, when Joe Madden stepped down, the quote he said was, it's been almost a breath of fresh air not to manage because of all of the analytics that have taken over.
What about Urban Meyer?
Yes.
Boxing fans.
Now on Sports Radio 810 Sports Center.
This live Sports Center update is brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. Check out their monthly Underground event this Friday and Saturday from noon to 8 p.m. The Underground at Greenlight Independence is Missouri's first and largest medical marijuana farmers market. Greenlight Dispensary Independence location is 3721A South Noland Road, Independence, Missouri 64055. The Kansas City Royals season ended last night with one more loss to the Cleveland Guardians, dropping them to 65-97 on the year. The big news of the night, however, was the firing of manager Mike Matheny and pitching coach Cal Eldred right after the game. Royals GM J.J. Picollo will speak to the media at 2 o'clock, and at 11:45, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and others will be live from Arrowhead to look ahead to Chiefs-Raiders. We'll carry both sets of pressers live right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Matt Lane of the KC Sports Network joins the Zone next here on 810.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
913-912-4810. Not going to read that text because you're a jerk.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll talk some Chiefs football here with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Just wanted to pass this along because I've seen Joe Madden's name listed a number of times, and I remembered the quote vaguely. But I remembered it when we read it at the time of saying, Madden probably not the next manager of the Kansas City Royals if they make a move with Mike Matheny, if they want to be more analytics-driven. When Joe Madden was fired, he had a Q&A with Ken Rosenthal in which he called the firing liberating. And Ken Rosenthal asked, why was it liberating? And he said, it's been difficult overall. I'm into analytics, but not to the point where everybody wants to shove it down your throat. Real baseball people have felt somewhat impacted by all of this. You're unable to just go to the ballpark and have fun and play baseball. It's too much controlled by front offices these days. I talked to Perry, the GM. This isn't anything new. I told him that. I said, you just try to reduce the information you're giving, try to be aware of who's giving the information, really be aware of when it's time to stay out of the way. In general, the industry has gone too far in that direction, and it's part of the reason people aren't into our game as much as they have been. I don't think John Sherman would be in the business of wanting to reorganize the organization to more data-driven decisions and hire somebody who wants to dial back the analytics and the data that has been given to the organization. Kind of sounds like what you had with Matheny, who was let's go play ball, and I like the analytics, but, let's not get caught up too much of the analytics there.
I just want to know who from the KC Laboratory Podcast would be the best baseball manager if one of the three of them had to be thrust into that role. I just wish we had somebody who could really give us an informed perspective on that.
Is that you, Matt, or is it Kent, or is it Craig? Who's the one that heads to the ballpark every day and manages the Royals to a 90-win season?
Oh, man, you are asking the wrong person at KCSN to give you guys a baseball take, especially coming after Aaron Judge kept violating my TV stream while I was trying to watch college football for the past week. That's a Kent or BJ thing. That's a Kent Swanson or BJ Kissel.
Okay, absolutely. That's great. Who would look the best in having to wear the baseball uniform as a manager since they do that silly thing in baseball?
Same answer, I think.
Kent or BJ?
Probably the same answer. I could throw a pretty good fit, though. I think I would get the most upset and give the most clips for people from being upset out there, but probably just from not understanding everything about it.
You're mad. That guy, that's actually the rule.
Hit him!
Well, why didn't you tell me that before the game, sir?
Run him over!
You would get thrown out the most, get ejected from the game the most times. You know what?
Oh, 100%.
Have some fire. Have some passion. Matt Lane is our guest here. The Royals had the Chiefs had some fire and some passion against the Bucs and dominating Tampa. And it is the first time a quarterback has completed at least 75% of his passes with 3 or more touchdowns and no interceptions and has lost by double digits in the NFL. So that's how good the Chiefs were in the Chiefs offense and things like that. How do you assess this team? And we can look specifically at the Bucs game as well, but I wanted to take a bigger overall view to start the conversation of how do you assess this team through what used to be, the first quarter of the season, but through 4 weeks so far in their 3-1 start.
I guess if you step back and look at the schedule, and then you look at the Chiefs' record sitting here at 3-1, after seeing how this schedule started out, you probably feel pretty good as a Chiefs fan. I think this is something we all would have taken. Now, when you go and start looking into it and you see the one loss has come against the Colts when a game the Chiefs clearly put forth a C-minus level effort, I think you probably have to feel pretty good how this team is looking. And, yeah, there's plenty of things that have to be fixed. They got a couple injuries they've been dealing with. They got a lot of new faces they're still trying to work in. But they're 3-1 with a divisional win, over the Chargers, who a lot of people had predicted, going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Now, they've hit the annual Chargers injury bug, so maybe now the team won't be as strong. But back when they played them in Week 2, they were healthy. They go down to Tampa. They play Tampa. They beat an NFC Super Bowl hopeful on the road. They look really good doing so. It's like coming out of this, you have two really good performances from the Chiefs against the Cardinals and the Bucs, a fine performance that results in a win against the Chargers, and you have the one letdown game versus the Colts. But I think you are okay with taking that in the grand scheme of things and saying, hey, the Chiefs are right back where we thought they'd be, and maybe even earlier, because it looks like they're starting to figure out some stuff on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, so if I just looked at the record, I would say, yeah, I thought that's what they would be. I had them 3-1 to start the season in the first 4 games. I had them 3-0 and then losing to the Bucs. But 3-1 is the record. But if I then look in the dash, right, you've got the 3-1 record, but what's the dash? What happened there to get the 3 wins and the 1 loss? And the encouraging part is that they've played 4 games, and half of them have been one script, and the other 2 have been a completely different script. So they've gone out and they've scored 40 or more points in 2 of the games. And then they have 2 games in which the offense struggled, didn't really look all that good, but the defense damn near won them both games. And to me, it's like, showing the evidence of the Chiefs offense scoring in the 40s and being able to do that, especially against, the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL coming into week 4 in the Bucs, and being able to put 44 against the Cardinals, 41 on Tampa, which is good without Tyreek and what this offense is going to look like. But there were so many questions about this defense, Matt, as to how long it would take. There's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some issues, and you're just going to have to live with those. And to look at it and say, I believe the Chiefs the defense has already won them a game against the Chargers, and they probably should have won them another game against the Colts, that they could be 4-0 with the defense winning 2 of them and the offense winning 2 of them.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, they've done it through a couple different avenues, but then you're coming into the year, and the biggest question for the Chiefs was, how is the offense going to look without having Tyreek Hill? But you kind of expect Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to get that working. Like, you anticipate that going okay by the end of the season. This defense, though, everybody thought there'd be a big learning curve. And even along with the learning curve with this defense, the way it's kind of been over recent years, you don't expect them to be winning games against upper flight teams like they were able to do against the Chargers. That defensive performance against the Chargers, who had a very good offense. Yeah, they were without Keenan Allen and had some offensive lineman injuries, but that was still a really good performance, especially in the second half. So seeing them come out and do that with so many new faces, so many young guys on that team, and honestly still trying to figure out their best way to rush the passer without having to blitz, that's promising for moving forward, because we all trust the offense to figure it out. Now you see a defense that has historically under Spagnuolo gotten better as the season's gone on. As they get to playoffs, they've usually played a little bit better on that side of the ball. And to have them playing this good, winning you a game, arguably should have won you a second game already, you have to feel really good as a Chiefs fan about all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt Lane is our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. All right, let's talk about this offense and look at this Bucs game. 9 points per game the Bucs were giving up heading into the game against the Chiefs, and they went and put 41 on them. And could have put, another touchdown or field goal on the board as well. Josh and I got into a conversation, I think yesterday or Tuesday, whatever it was, and it was like, benefit of the doubt. And I don't think, Patrick Mahomes is not infallible. He is not a perfect quarterback. But I do kind of feel like he got cavalier on the drive when he threw the interception, that if they were down 3 in that moment, I'm not sure he just rolls left and then fires it up to Juju and it gets intercepted because of how good he was when the game sort of mattered throughout that. But the offense goes out there and puts 41 points on the board against this Bucs team, and they were so incredibly efficient, and the running game was coming around, and they were, averaging 6 yards per carry. They were putting up, almost 7 yards on first down. I went and looked at the stats, Matt, to talk with you. In the game against the Bucs, I shouldn't say almost 7, almost 6. when you take away the goal line plays on first down, so like first and goal from the 1, so you take away those and you look at the overall field on first down, they average 6 yards per play on first down against the Bucs, against that defense. And to me, that's a focus team, Matt, that shows when they go out there with a game plan and they're executing it and they're in tune and ready to play. Is there a defense that can slow the offense down from what we're seeing right now? Because that was incredibly impressive.
I don't think so, right? I think going into this week, we see the Buccaneers and how good they had been. I don't think they had played an offense quite as good as the Chiefs, but we had seen how good they had been up to that point. So, like, they were very much considered to be the best defense, supposedly, in the NFL. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but they come out, they get challenged. The Chiefs have a very good read on this defense from the get-go. They come out and they see them right away, whether it's the run game and getting outside the tackles, running wide against this defense was having a lot of success, whether it was how they were able to attack their linebackers in coverage because of where they were playing their safeties. Like, the Chiefs did a lot of really good stuff to beat this specific defense. But I think the bigger thing, and you alluded to it, this offense, they had a game plan. They were executing it really well. Everybody was generally playing at their potential for this game for the Chiefs, and that resulted in them having this dominant performance. I don't know if there's a defense in the league. I guess we'll find out. Maybe not this week, but next week.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills, I think, are the next, statistical best defense going right now. They have been playing great ball on that side, or great football on that side of the ball. So we'll see then. But that's kind of the last defensive challenge. If you can put up numbers against the Bucs and then the Bills this year right now, you got two different defenses with entirely different styles. But that would kind of show you that the Chiefs' offense might be close when they're playing well to as being as unstoppable as they ever have been during this Patrick Mahomes kind of tenure. And I know it's lofty words, but they've kind of been that way for years. It's just a matter of you don't really stop the Chiefs' offense. They kind of stop themselves with mistakes or just not having their best game. When they have their best game, I don't think we've seen any team really go out there and out-execute their offense when it's clicking.
Not to have this team turn into a Marty Ball of the 90s, but is this the running game that you'd expect moving forward from the Chiefs and how they did it, the execution, the offensive line against that Bucs defense, as opposed to what we have seen in a couple of games this year that it's really struggled and been head-scratching at times from what the offensive line has done and what the running backs maybe have missed with some holes? Do you think moving forward this is more indicative of what the Chiefs' running game will look like when they do hand it off?
I think it's a yes and a no. I think Shaq Barrett gave the Chiefs offensive line a lot of ammunition to get really fired up for this game. I don't think they'll come out and say it, but if you just watch them on social media or their interactions during the game, they were fired up. So if you get this same level of fired up offensive line, yeah, I think you can have similar success a lot of times if teams are going to sit in this too high shell, if they're going to try just to play nickel and only keep two linebackers on the field, you can see similar success. I love that the Chiefs leaned into some of the gap stuff. Now, they still ran plenty of zone in this game. I think it was probably pretty close to 50-50 by the end of it, especially when they were running out the clock. They ran a lot of inside and outside zone. But it was a kind of a 50-50 split, and I just liked the way that everything paired together. I do wonder, though, if some of the runs was specific to Tampa Bay, getting those guys out on the move, pulling the offensive linemen, especially on those pitch plays when they were running the kind of pin and pull stuff. That seemed very specific against the Buccaneers defense. So it's nice to see they have it. I don't know if you'll see that every single week, but getting the counter runs, they started running just single back power with Joe Thuney specifically pulling around a lot because he's able to quickly get around the edge. Those kind of things I think we should see week in and week out, and I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Isaiah Pacheco especially are a lot better on running those plays than they are running that typical outside or inside zone the Chiefs usually like.
Do you think we start to see more Isaiah Pacheco usage and carries and opportunities as the season progresses with at least what he looked like against the Bucs? And Andy Reid talked about it on Monday that he's not just a runner that grabs a football and goes, that he's reading it a little bit more. Do you think we're going to see more Pacheco carries and usage as the season goes along?
Yes, but I also don't know if the team is in any way, shape, or form disappointed or saddened by what Clyde Edwards-Helaire has done so far. I think he's played kind of up to the standard that they want. He still also had a really good game against the Buccaneers too. So I don't know if you're going to see him eat much into those yards. I think right now Pacheco is still going to be in this weird timeshare with Jerick McKinnon to where if the Chiefs are picking up a lot of yards, like you were saying, 6 yards on first down, that's going to be a heavier Pacheco game. And that's how come him and McKinnon were, almost even in snaps this past week because the Chiefs weren't put in obvious passing situations. I think you're still going to see McKinnon on 2nd and long, 3rd down, stuff like that. So it's a really weird timeshare, but I think Clyde continues to hold his kind of top rung spot. Pacheco and McKinnon are battling it out. I hope we see more Pacheco. I like the way he runs. I just don't know if there's this clear path for him getting significantly more reps than he did versus the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm glad you phrase it that way, that, getting more Pacheco is maybe he runs a certain style. It doesn't equate that Edwards-Helaire is having a bad season, and it's just like you're getting nothing from him, and what did the Chiefs see? I mentioned it on Monday, Matt, that, it isn't Todd Haley handing the ball off to Colby Smith after Larry Johnson, got injured, and ignoring Jamal Charles, and keep giving the ball to Colby Smith and people going and pulling their hair out going, what are you doing? He's getting 7 yards when he touches the ball. Give it to Jamal Charles. Stop. Colby Smith, fine guy. Stop giving him the football. Like Edwards-Helaire has, had success. He's been fine. He's been good at times. And Pacheco's, been doing what he's been doing as well. Like it's not every time you give the ball to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're missing out on somebody who could be one of the best running backs in the organization's history, like we saw with Colby Smith and Jamal Charles. Until Colby Smith got injured and Todd Haley was like, I guess I'll put in Jamal. I guess I'll have to play him now. We'll see what he does.
Right, and so yes, I agree with that. Pacheco still has some work to do as a runner too. Even in this game where he clearly had his best game, I thought there was a couple plays where he probably chose the gap he was going to a little early, missed setting up a linebacker that would have been setting up for an easy block and kind of ran into a tackle. So it's not that he was flawless. It was a very good game, but it's not like he was flawless in this game either. And then, as you mentioned, if we're going to talk about the Chiefs as a whole, everyone's kind of okay with removing the Colts game. Like that was a bad game. It doesn't count. You remove that from Clyde's stats. I mean, we're looking at a guy that has just over 30 carries. He's averaging, 6+ or around 6 yards per carry right now. He's got another almost 10 yards per reception. Like, he's having a fine season for what the Chiefs have asked him to do outside of that singular game. So I think you have to do him a little bit of a favor when you're looking at this and say, okay, we are not going to count that game for him and look at what he's done. And he's been good. He's been fine. I still understand being upset about a first-round pick on any running back, but especially one that isn't super dynamic. But this is not the start of a season you really want to hang your hat on the replace Clyde Edwards-Helaire line because, again, he's been very good through 4 weeks of the season.
Matt Lane is our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. So is there value at all in breaking up games in a season by quarters without really the context? I bring that up because yesterday I was just curious that it seems like the fourth quarter teams are scoring in games, especially 2 of the 4 games that are, really junk time. Like even the Chargers touchdown, they were down 10. They could still kick the onside kick, but they were down 10 when they scored the touchdown. So in the first quarter, the Chiefs are outscoring their opponents 34-13 in the first quarter. In the fourth quarter, they're outscored 35-23. But I feel like the fourth quarter is a result of the first quarter, if that makes sense. That the Chiefs are getting a lead, and unlike in years past, we compared it to 2020, where Carolina, Tampa, New Orleans, Miami were games where the Chiefs had control, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's a game at the end, and you're going, how in the world is this team in it? The 2 games the Chiefs have started off hot and taken an early lead, they have kept the foot on the gas pedal, and they've gotten it to a point to where it was a laugher in the fourth quarter. Mahomes didn't finish the game against the Cardinals, and they were up 17 on the Bucs, where points at that time did not matter.
Right. So I think that very clearly matters. You don't, I guess, ever want to have a big deficit in scoring in the fourth quarter, but and I imagine this is the case with a lot of Andy Reid teams, especially with the Chiefs. I would be surprised if they were ever near the league lead in score differential of that quarter, because they do get out to an early lead. Their first 15 plays historically are some of the best in the league, and they usually come out with a really good drive or two after halftime there in the third quarter. So, like, that stat does not surprise me at all. And then you start diving into these specifics, and, yeah, this Buccaneers game, I was looking at 41-24 going into the fourth quarter. The Chiefs just kick a field goal. They force a punt, and then we have the Patrick Mahomes interception. But they're up 17. I agree with you. I think he was trying to hunt for a dagger because the game was close to being over. Still a bad play, don't get me wrong, but I think he was just hunting to completely end the game there. So, I mean, like, we're getting down to how 4 minutes left before the Buccaneers score in the fourth quarter even. So do those points really matter that much if they got those 7 points on the board that late? Probably not in the grand scheme of things. This defense has been really good. When the game is close, especially early in the game, the Chiefs' defense has been spectacular so far this year.
Yeah, visiting with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast, and your colleague with the podcast and also at KC Sports Network, Craig Stout, I was curious about what Spagnuolo's defense was doing in the game, whether it was close or it was a wider margin, 3 scores or more. Was there a change in the game plan for Spagnuolo, which would obviously make sense that you would do that? And the things that he wrote at KC Sports Network, that the Chiefs defense has given up 474 yards on 82 plays when leading by 3 scores or more, which is like almost 6 yards per play. They're giving up 4.6 yards per play when the game is closer and it's within 2 scores, when it's a closer game that they might have a chance to lose. And that would be one of the best in the NFL. And what's another stat that he brought up was the opposing teams have scored on 36% of the drives against the Chiefs, which is 15th best in the league. They have scored on 60% of the drives when the Chiefs are up 3 scores. So eliminating those up 3-score drives, the Chiefs are only giving up scores on 29% of the drives when the game is within striking distance, and one of the best that you'll see with Spagnuolo. And last one for you, Matt, that is the blitz rate and the pressure rate. And he had mentioned when they were up by 3 scores or more, the blitz rate is half, like half of what Spagnuolo typically would do, and that's what he did against the Bucs game. That's what I was really curious to know, Matt, is they were getting scores when the game was 17 21 points away for the Bucs, but when it was closer, they were getting stops. And that's even more encouraging in the fact that it seems that Spags was just simply saying, yeah, we're going to keep everything in front of us. I'm not going to blitz. We're not going to get beat over the top, and we're going to make you have longer sustained drives, which then game flow, game script does change some of the numbers if you just look at cumulative stats as to, points that you give up per game when game flow can dictate what Steve Spagnuolo is doing. And I think that's the context that's also needed for how good this defense has been this year.
Absolutely. That was a fantastic article by Craig. I think you said you can find it at kcsn.substack.com, but go in there and read it because he goes through how the Chiefs defense is playing early in games versus late, with a lead, without. It's very well worth your time. And at the end of it, more or less, the moral of it is just the Chiefs defense, when games are close, when things are on the line, Steve Spagnuolo is using his entire playbook. He's blitzing. He's calling these more exotic coverages. He's getting deep into his quote-unquote bag of tricks as a defensive coordinator, and the Chiefs are having a ton of success in those situations. When they back it off, when they play a little bit more vanilla coverage, they rely on their 4-man pass rush. They're just kind of trying to buy time without giving up big plays. But I also have to think a lot of it, and this is a big Andy Reid thing too, he's not trying to show everybody everything he has. He doesn't want to show all of his looks. He doesn't want to put it all on film when it doesn't matter. That's been an Andy Reid staple for his entire coaching career. That's how Chiefs fans, we know, the team will be up 3-4 scores, and then by the end of the game, it's kind of sort of close. You're one possession away from it being considered a close game far too frequently, and we get very upset by that. The defense is starting to do that a little bit, and that hasn't always been Spagnuolo's tendency, but I think he's kind of trending that direction since he's been in Kansas City. So I think it's a lot of Andy Reid influence. There's no reason to showcase your best blitz packages and your best rushes versus certain looks when you're up 3 scores in the third quarter. It just doesn't make sense. So you do have to take a lot of it with a grain of salt in this situation, because early in games when the Chiefs defense is operating at 110% in terms of what they're trying to do, they have been one of, if not the best defense in the league in terms of not allowing other teams to score.
Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Last one before we get a prediction. You wrote there at kcsn.substack about the rookies through the first 4 games of the season. How do they, as you look at the rookie class, how does it stack up through 4 games, what maybe you envisioned it would look like when the draft class was coming together, Monday after the draft of, okay, here are the players. Through 4 weeks, what are you seeing from these guys?
So I think the biggest thing, losing Trent McDuffie early on, and he looked very good in his limited snaps as your first overall pick, the guy you trade up for, like not having him through this point in time definitely leaves a little bit of a mark here, because I think outside of him, yes, there's been Pacheco had a good game, Jalen Watson, won a game with a pick 6, but there's been a little bit of a lack of, I guess I want to say, flash or super dynamic play across the board. There's these isolated incidents, but they haven't had any dynamic performances from their rookies or like sustained play. Losing your first round pick, that matters. But at the end of the day, you've had essentially 6 guys have produced at a not just quality level, but a significant contribution level. Karlaftis is playing some of the most reps from the defensive line, and while maybe he isn't churning out crazy pressure or sack numbers, he's been excellent versus the run. He's eating up snaps. He is a nuisance to opposing quarterbacks. Sky Moore finally saw an uptick in production, and his yards per route run, I think, are like 3rd or 4th in the NFL. It's a tiny sample size, but his yards per route run are like right there next to Stephon Diggs, who a lot of people have as the best wide receiver in the NFL. Like, you can see him trending upward. Brian Cook is finding a role. Like, all these guys are finding their correct spot. So I don't think anyone should be disappointed. I think if anything, you kind of be happy that they've done, the rookie class has done this well without their top guy. I would say by now, I would be hoping that somebody starts to emerge as, I don't want to say they're going to be competing for Rookie of the Year, like defensive or offensive, but you would like to see somebody on that pace. And I don't know if any of the rookies are quite there, but they are all contributing at significant levels, at least the ones that are seeing playing time. All
right, Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. What happens on Monday night and a score that you may have in mind for Chiefs and Raiders?
I just simply don't know if the Raiders are any good this year. It's hard to tell. Like, I haven't got to sit down and watch a ton of their games so far, but the little bits I've turned into, it looks to be a struggle. They look like a team that has a poor offensive line that doesn't really know what they're doing at this point in time, and I think that obviously shows up. They're 1-3 on the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Chiefs kind of control this one. I think the fact that it's a divisional game, especially a divisional home game for this one, I think the Chiefs will show up enough that you're not going to get a letdown after the big Buccaneers win before going to the big Bills game. I think they'll show up enough. So, I think a comfortable 10-point win. So we'll say 34-24 right now, but maybe it's never even that close throughout the game. I think the Chiefs are just simply better across the board.
All right, we'll see what happens. Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate the time. Enjoy the football. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me on, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely. There's Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast, KCSN.substack, and he wrote about the rookies there and looking at the entire rookie class, which through 4 weeks, get an assessment of what you're seeing. And Karlaftis has been pretty steady. Watson has had some really, really big plays. Brian Cook's been good on special teams. McDuffie, unfortunately, McDuffie, like the rookie class looks like this without probably their best player in the rookie class. And Daniel Jeremiah ranked his best rookies 1 through 25 in the NFL through the first 4 weeks of the season, and a rookie Chiefs player showed up on that list. It was Pacheco, which was a surprise. He showed up at number 25. I thought for sure Jalen Watson would show up. If you're talking about filling in for Trent McDuffie, having to play, having the pick 6, being picked on as often as he is, and showing up as often as he has, not in the top 25, but he's got Pacheco at number 25, does Daniel Jeremiah. So Karlaftis has been steady. If he had a sack or two, maybe he's moved up. If the sacks matched the pressures, maybe he's in that top 25 as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Short segment here between this conversation with Matt and then when we hear from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and also other Chiefs players. Do we know who it is?
Isaiah Pacheco and McCole Hardman will be at the podium today.
Great. So
also, kcsportsnetwork.substack.com. You still need the .com part.
What?
2 dots in there might be sort of confusing, but just want to make sure people get to the good work done over there at KCSN.
That's fine. So the press conference will be Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, one player who's gaining in reps and opportunities, and one player who is losing playing time in reps and opportunities. Do I have that right?
I mean, one guy's got a heel injury.
Heel over there, okay?
kcsportsnetwork.substack.com.
All right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I'm going to take the $20 and put it on Jalen Danner. No.
I'll give you a quarter for it.
A whole quarter. I'll give Audrey a quarter, too.
Sounds like a movie reference.
I can't. I'm just so disappointed in that it sounds like a movie reference.
I'm disappointed that you still have the capacity of being disappointed in me. My parents gave up much
No, there's
sooner.
a lot of capacity for disappointment.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco, and McCole Hardman.
KCSN.substack.com.
Is that right?
The .com part is mandatory. I was right to correct you on that.
Yeah.
I got too big for my britches on KCSN KC Sports Network. Don't worry about it. KCSportsNetwork.com.
We'll get you there.
Or KCSN.substack.com for Kent Swanson, Craig Stout, and the aforementioned Matty Lane.
Yeah, you stepped right in and flew a little too close to the sun there, guy.
Hey, you know what? In Sports or Leisure today, that little reference might get you a gift card to Johnny's.
No way.
Absolutely.
I haven't even looked at the questions.
Let's get Greeky, baby. Let's get Greeky.
I love it.
Greek last week.
Greek me, baby.
Let's get Greinke.
Oh, yeah.
New manager of the Royals, Zach Greinke.
Let me Greek you
How
up
weird
and
would that
down.
baseball team be? How weird would Zach Greinke be as an everyday baseball manager? Those press conferences would be unhinged. You thought Ned Yost was wild?
I don't even care about the results. I just want that to happen now.
I know.
Let's think that into reality.
There's not enough money in the
Let's
world to
manifest
get
this.
Zach Greinke to do that. He has to know he would hate that, right?
Manifest this. Come on. He'd have to talk twice a day, every game
300
day.
some mandatory speaking dates for Zach Greinke. That doesn't feel good for anybody. I don't want to talk 300 some mandatory times.
Yeah, I mean, I got to do it 5 times a week, and I don't even want that either. 913-912-4810.
You fake it pretty well, though.
Thank you. Fake it till you make it. That's what they say. You know, if you know, it'll be fine in the end. If it's not the end, it's not fine. So, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco, and McCole Hardman today. So I was reading some of those numbers by Craig Stout with Matt Lane. And I do want to reiterate those a little bit because it goes right into what we were talking about this week about, you know, they gave up 31 points. Is there something different that they were doing? And
Isn't Craig's story from this morning?
yes.
Let's check it out.
Craig's story.
KCSN.substack.com.
Oh, that's where you're going.
I feel bad about giving out the wrong URL for a couple of minutes.
For lots of
you can
of
read,
times.
You can read it from Craig also. Sometimes it's easier to read than to hear numbers and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
audiobook and the book in front of you.
So you can look at the overall rate where the Chiefs rank 5th in pressure rate this season at 29%. But when the game is inside 2 scores, the Chiefs are pressuring at 32.5%, which is second only to San Francisco and their monster D-line. So the context that goes along with it. And the blitz rate is halved in the scenarios that are more than 2 scores. So within 2 scores, he's blitzing twice as often as he is when it's more than 2 scores. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're seeing the pressure rate drop because let's just send the 4. It'd be great to get a sack with the 4, and we're still pressuring on whatever it might be, 21% of the dropbacks when we're up by 3 scores. But I'm going to send these guys out there and not give up a quick, long touchdown for them to get back in the game. They are going to drive the length of the field. We're going to keep everything in front of them. Also, you might give up more yards per play if your safeties are deeper and they're throwing the ball underneath, a little more yards to run. So your yards per play can increase. Your pressure percentage goes down, but the length of the drive increases and the win probability also continues to increase as the time ticks away, knowing that your offense can do what they can do. The numbers by Craig Stout, and I love that, back up what we were wondering about Steve Spagnuolo is, did he do things different in the game when it was a wider margin as opposed to when it was a closer game? And those numbers say, yes, in fact, he did. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the Chiefs next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Hey, you're in the room all by yourself, dude.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
No, you're all right. That's okay.
All right, let's head out to Arrowhead, and Andy Reid is at the podium.
Is Bucker, so he still working with the ankle sprain, just getting the swelling down on it. Look forward to the challenge of playing the Raiders. Good football team. You know, the games that the game that they didn't win, or games that they didn't win, it was a one score game. So we understand how good they are. We understand that they were up by 20 points in the second half against Arizona, and we've got to have a good week of practice. Anything less than that is not acceptable. Our guys know that. They understand that there is a rivalry between the two teams, and it's always a great battle. So we look forward to bringing them here into Arrowhead and playing good football. So that time's yours.
Coach, does the team, do you all do anything different during Raiders Week? Building on the rivalry? Is there anything more to it? Or?
No, you just have to get ready. You have to get ready to play a good team first, and then whatever takes place after that. But I mean, they have a lot of skill, and they've got good bigs, and so you've got to prepare yourself right, and that's the most important thing. Absolutely the most important thing.
Coach, I asked you on Monday about Blake Bell, another in-house matter. Lucas Niang is also eligible to come off the pup this week. What are you anticipating from him?
And he's close, but not quite there yet. Yeah, I mean he's working through it, but he's not ready to do that.
There were two passes I think passed 20 yards from Patrick Mahomes in that last game, but a lot of it was just short and got the wide receivers blocking at a pretty good level. Is that kind of where you wanted to see this offensive ball as you got it started and you saw it really come to fruition in Tampa Bay?
Yeah, listen, I mean that's got to be part of it, and particularly when you play them and with their rush game and all that. So, but every game is different. But to execute is the main thing. So that's what we were doing, and we executed well. So whatever we call, as long as it's the right call, then we just want to. And this is the whole team. I mean, we're trying to execute it better than maybe what we did the week before that.
Coach, it's been 2 weeks since the start of Willie Gay's suspension. I know you said he could return to the building after the 2-week mark. Is he back?
Yeah, he's back in. Yeah, he's back in.
How's he doing?
He's doing good. Yeah, he's doing good. Yeah, it looks like he's been working, so working out.
Andy, is this injury for Harrison Butker, is this dragged on maybe a little longer than you initially thought it would?
Yeah, I mean normally the sprained ankles don't last, but he's got some swelling in there that he's just got to get out, and that's where we're at right now. But it's not that he doesn't want to play. I mean, he wants to get out there. But
what's your sense of McDuffie's pace for return? How's he?
You know what? He's doing great. He's got this week here, and I think he'll get back in there maybe next week. So. Yeah.
Coach, I know Joshua Gaines has been around for a while as an OC, and so you got tape and everything. You went back on that, but as a coach, you dial back as all the way back to Denver, or is it make it a little more difficult to prep him that he's kind of new back in that role?
He's a phenomenal football mind. I mean, he's sharp as Dak, and so and he's been doing it a long time. So you kind of know you have evidence of what he likes to do. Matter of being able to stop it. That's a challenge, and he does a great job of rotating plays and players and putting people in good spots. So he's a sharp guy, though.
Is it hard I know you're going through it with bringing in Marquez and Juju and finding out how long does it take? He's having to go through that with Devontae Adams. Is there obviously you've been around somebody for 5 years, you're going to be more comfortable than the first day, but is there a kind of a rule of thumb on when everybody can see
I think everybody's different with it. I mean, that guy's a pretty good football player now. So, and he has a relationship with a quarterback that goes back further than the National Football League, all the way to college. So, you've got to make sure you do a nice job in coverage against it. And he's not the only one the only good receiver there. So, we got to make sure we're sharp there.
In recent years, Andrew Wiley has had some success equalizing Crosby.
what do you think has led to some of that success, and what do you see maybe in that matchup?
Well, always have a good. They went to college together, and so there's that part of it. And I think they probably both like playing against each other because they just kind of beat the dog out of each other. So it seems like it's quite a competition. And but I would just tell you that. I mean, Crosby's gotten him a few times. He's gotten Crosby a couple times. So, that's how it works.
The players talked a lot last week about the challenge that you kind of laid down. NFL season's not a sprint, and it's a marathon. You got to have to know when to apply that. How do you learn that as a coach? I mean, what goes into it to figure out when you need to kind of spark guys up and when you need to lay off a little bit?
Well, you're around these guys so much. I mean, you get a feel for, kind of where they're at and what they're thinking, and you're not always right. It's the human element of the game. I wish I would like to sit here and tell you I'm always right, but and then part of it is the right guys in the locker room and veteran leadership guys talking and making sure they communicate to the younger guys and understand their urgency. It's a long season, but yet you only have your 17 games. That's all. I mean, that's all you have. So that's not as long as basketball, baseball, hockey. It's not that. It's a little different deal. So you got to take advantage of every one of them.
And with Chris Conley being back, what do you see for him moving forward?
Yeah, well, right now he's doing the practice squad thing, and then we'll just see. I mean, it's great to have him back. It's great to have Kemp back in here, and they're familiar with what we do, and they're great guys, good workers.
And it was basically 5 time slots in the regular season that you can play in, and you guys hit them all in these first 5 weeks. Has it been a challenge to find a routine, find a rhythm here?
No. I mean, we try to keep everything as consistent as we can at home and on the road. So, Wednesday's a Tuesday and Thursday's a Wednesday. So they got a couple days off, and then you just kind of get back to the same routine. You just have to, put yourself in the football world and that time slot.
Nate. Andy, some of these teams are obviously playing in these too high shell coverages. I just wonder how much of last year's experience, and given the roster you have, where tight ends become more important or more prominent when a defense is playing too high or shell coverages.
Yeah, I mean, we were blessed to have those guys last year until he got hurt. I mean, but we had Blake in there too. So it was I don't know necessarily if it's that. It's good to be able to rotate some of the personnel groups around. I think that's a positive. But to defeat shell, I mean, you have to stay disciplined and know how to work in space, and that goes probably for any zone coverage. You've got to have a feel for that, and then experience doesn't hurt going against it. Yeah, for sure.
Right. I know this is year 23 or 24. Just have you had 4 to 3 tight ends this good in your time?
I'm not sure all at the same time. I'm not sure not that I remember. I've had some good tight ends. I've had 3 before that were real good, but we've really got 4 guys, and once Blake comes back healthy.
Sorry, Coach, when you were high flying in 18 and 19, you kept saying defenses come around, they catch up. We've kind of seen that they've adjusted. The question about the shell defenses and everything. Scoring's down. Teams are running more. How long does that? What's the cycle of it? Is it a 2-year, 3-year? Like?
Yeah, it's great. It's a cat and mouse game a little bit. You always joke as a coach. You go, especially if you've been doing it well. Well, it'll come back around. That's how it works. So, I can't tell you what the cycle is. I know I've been through it though, so I can't tell you the number of years.
Last one.
Coach, with the wins, it's a huge momentum booster, but the roster continues to feel like there's a player of the week every week. Talk about what your roster looks like and how this team is progressing every week. You got another guy, winning for.
Yeah, so Brett and his crew do a great job bringing people in, and not only are they good players, but they like to play. So there can be a difference there. They like to practice, timing and all that stuff that goes with it. So they're wired right. But I think the coaches, do a nice job, and the guys believe in what you're doing. So the trick is to keep that going, though. Right? So we are early in the season. We're just finishing, just working through that first quarter. So it's you gotta stay on top of your game.
All right.
Andy Reid's press conference is brought to you by Robert Brogdon Buick GMC and Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia. Robert Brogdon Buick GMC and Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com. And by Andy's Frozen Custard. Andy's Frozen Custard. Enjoy the world's finest frozen custard at Andy's, made fresh every hour. Andy and Andy's, a winning combination.
All right, there's Andy Reid in the press conference. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes here very shortly. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. And then also Nicole Hardman and Isaiah Pacheco. We've been loving some. Is it Pac-10 or is it 10-Pac? Like Tupac, but 10-Pac, or is it Pac-10?
It's Lil Poppy. Pistachio.
Oh.
I think Pac-10 is a good. I kind of like calling him Pac-10.
I'm going to have to give credit where credit is due. I'm going to have to look through the tweets from the game on Sunday night as to who I saw call him Pac-10. Just imagine if he'd have gone to a Pac-10 school.
Give it some time.
For what? To him to go to a Pac-10 school?
You want everything to be cyclical. Eventually, Rutgers will be in a Pacific Conference that only has 10 teams. Eventually, it'll be retroactively justified.
Look, if USC and UCLA can be in the Big Ten, then the Big Ten can kick Rutgers the heck out of there, and they can join the Pac-8, 13, 10. Here's Patrick Mahomes.
Guys, far away.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff that I've learned over especially this last season and into this season is in order for our offense to have success sometimes I'm going to have to be patient and take the underneath stuff and get those throws to move the chains and trusting our offense that we're going to convert on third down. And then when the shots come, I have to be able to execute. I think defenses are going to continue to do to us until I continue to prove it. And as the season goes on, I'm sure those big shots will continue to start happening more and more often.
What's the vibe like when you guys get that running game going? I know a lot was made about coach challenging the guys and he can come around shaking everybody's hand and everything, but so much is the math and the analytics of things, but the physical side of football when you guys can do what you were doing up front, and what does that do in the huddle?
Yeah, the tempo I think the O-line had from the get-go. I mean, you could tell in practice during the week that they were ready to bounce back. They felt like they didn't play their best in Indy, and that wasn't who they were. And so going up against the Bucs and a great defensive line, they could kind of go out there and prove that they still were top in the league. And so they got it going early with the run game, and it makes when we're running the ball like that, it makes my job a lot easier because then defenses have to change how they play.
Does that, everyone talked about kind of being off against the Colts, right? It was called a letdown game, different things. And you guys didn't have the running game. Is that part of the physically beating somebody? Does that make it easier to get in sync and do all those things? Yeah, and I think this year the offensive line especially is one of the strengths of our team. That's pass protecting and run blocking. That's a strength of our team, and we're at to play through them. So whenever they dominate and when they play at a high level, you see this offense play at a high level. So I think you saw it in the first week too. Early in the game, we really ran the ball well, and it forces defenses to adjust. And once they adjust, then we can kind of open it up with the pass game as well.
It's funny, as you said that, looking at that game, you all split down the middle, 37 pass attempts, 37. Does that make the job easier for you? I mean, would you prefer it that way? I mean, your numbers may not look the same. It's not going to look the same regardless of who's on the team, but do you prefer it being as balanced as it was? Yeah, I mean, whenever you have a good, balanced offense, it's hard for defenses to predict what you're doing. And I think you saw that is whenever we ran the ball well, defenses had to start coming up a little bit, change their coverages that they wanted to play, bring some pressures. And when they did, we were able to execute with the pass game. And kind of vice versa, whenever we're passing the ball well, I feel like the defenses have to back up, and then we can run the ball. And so in order to be a great offense, I think you have to have that balance. And whenever defenses try to take one of them away, we're able to do the other.
We'll get Isaiah in a second, and Andy's
talked about how he's grown within the playbook. How have you seen growth from Isaiah over these 4 games?
Yeah, with all rookies, you have to continue to evolve them more and more and keep them kind of in tune to the game plan. And I think Isaiah was a good point of that. Of not only, I mean, we've always known he can run the ball, he can catch the ball and make plays happen, but knowing where he's at in protection, knowing how to run versus this based off the blocking and the defensive looks. And I think that's starting to come together with him. And now it's about him continue to build and continue to get better in that sense, because you can be physically talented, but in order to set blocks up and really be a great running back in this league, you have to have that next step, and that's the mind of a running back and being able to go out there and execute every down.
Patrick, you're going to be pretty busy here, obviously, today, but it's a big day for Brittany and the Current. And I just wonder what you think about the meaning of what they're trying to do and how that resonates.
Yeah, as an organization, I think the Longs and Brittany have done a great job of just really strengthening and I guess embracing and going with those women and putting them in the right position to go out and succeed. And I think you've seen it on the field is they believe in those girls, those women to go out there and play at a high level. And they've the state-of-art facility. They're building the brand new stadium now, letting them show that we believe in them, and they do it the right way as an organization. And I think you can see that whenever they play on the field.
And one other franchise question. I mean, you're obviously an investor in the Royals. I don't know if you take the time to follow exactly what's happening closely with the changes they've made, but I wonder if you have any impressions of that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm an investor, but I watch kind of how everybody else does. I'm obviously a little bit more invested just because I have money in there. But I'm excited for the young guys that they have. Obviously, I like the staff that they had before, but they wanted to move in a different direction and kind of invest in those young guys. And obviously, the record wasn't what we wanted this year. But they have the talent and they have the young guys now. Let's infuse some veterans in there and try to turn it around as quickly as possible.
Patrick, there was a viral clip, I don't want to call it a clip, but of the NFL Live yesterday. And Ryan Clark, Marcus Spears, and Dan Orlovsky, they were talking about the difference between being under center, being a shotgun, and the different formation in the play. So do you prefer being under center to where you can kind of disguise the play if you're going to play action, or do you prefer being in shotgun?
I think there's a time and place for. I saw the clip. It was like 8 minutes, so I didn't watch it yet, but I'm going to. Apparently, it was really good. Obviously, there's a time and place for both. I think us as an offense, whenever we're running the ball well from under center, that play action does kind of develop a little bit better because you get that really hard sell and the linebackers really come up, and then you can kind of strike over the top. But at the same time, we don't want to get away from our identity. And I feel like we can be under center, but we are in the gun probably predominantly. And I don't want to get into a place where we're going under center just to play action. You want to make sure that it ties in together with whatever your game plan entails. And that's something I think Coach Reed and EB do a great job of.
Talk about the 50-50 balance and how that sometimes gets you guys into a rhythm more. You were able to get Travis going early. Is there like a palpable sense if you're able to get Kelsey going early, you feel like this offense can cook all game long?
I think every game plays out differently. I think it helps for sure because once Travis gets going, he creates a lot of attention that goes to him, and it helps other guys get favorable matchups. But I think we just had a good understanding of let's get the ball in my hands quickly, get to our guys, our playmakers in space. Let's run the ball, give their defensive line a lot of different looks so that when we need a drop back pass game, our offensive line is at an advantage and they can go out there and show their talent, which they did.
You mentioned getting the playmakers in space and more involved. McCole Hardman, 80 total snaps, 2 targets over the past 2 games. How do you balance getting him more involved and also just staying within the offense?
Yeah, I think he'll become more involved. I think he's got to get more and more healthy. I think you saw in the first few weeks he was having some good plays and making some stuff happen, and he got a little banged up, and he hasn't had that same production these last 2. But I think as he gets more and more healthy, he'll continue to be involved in this offense. He's got special talent, special speed, and we have a lot of different guys in that receiving room. But I expect all of them to be involved throughout this entire season.
Patrick, that dump off pass to touchdown pass to Clyde, you're right on the line of scrimmage, and it always seems like you have an innate sense of just kind of where that line of scrimmage is. Is that a feel thing for you, or is that something you're always seeing? You're always seeing the sticks. I think it's more of a feel. There's times where I'm close. When I was a little close, I looked right at the line right after I threw it just to kind of see where I was at. But it's a feel where I know when I run a little bit further backwards, I have more room to run up.
And I try to stay behind the line of scrimmage as long as possible because I'm not the fastest guy, but if I'm going to run, I make sure that I'm attacking the line of scrimmage. So I'm not going to try to go past it unless I know I have a chance to make some room.
And it helps too that you don't have to stay behind, right? You could have a toe just behind, and it counts as the whole body being behind, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I think at the quarterback position, that people would be lying if they said they're like holding the foot back on purpose. So I think you just throw it and try to make sure that you're behind it and hope for the best.
Anything you learned or saw about that play that maybe you didn't realize at the time, now that you had a chance to look at it on video?
I knew at the time I got rolled up pretty bad, but I feel like I was lucky to get out of there without being really injured. And I saw the picture that was kind of going around Twitter, and I was like, man, all those ankle mobilities I've been doing really must have paid off.
Patrick, Travis turned 33 obviously this week. You were here statistically when his age is in his prime, and now you're here when statistically it says he should be on the other side. How have you seen him evolve to maybe make sure that if his speed declines, that the production does not?
I think he's just smarter as a player. I think that's the biggest thing. He knows how to get himself open. He knows how to use other people and other parts of the concept to get himself open. And he's smart about how he blocks, how he can pin guys and get in the right position. And I think he's just continued to evolve and be even better as a tight end. And he is getting up there. I'm going to try to keep him here as long as possible, I promise you. But he's definitely someone that he's not taking any screens like 80 anymore, I don't think, but he's still going to make some production on the field.
Are there specific plays you can point to that sort of show what you're talking about with him?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the first touchdown last week, how he kind of motioned in and used those two guys that were kind of released to get himself some access so that he wasn't necessarily pressed up on. This stuff like that, that's stuff where, and maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you might just line him up in the spot and say, hey, just go win. Whereas now we give him a little freedom to motion a little bit and get himself open so that he can use his talents and go out there and put up numbers like he always does.
Patrick, you in an interview were talking about the fun plays and getting a chance to design them. You were talking about the going in motion. You were joking around about that. Is that something you guys work on in minicamp and training camp, or is there a little pocket each week where Andy, opens it up to kind of keep things loose and fun?
It's definitely, we work on it in mini camp and training camp and stuff like that, but we during special teams, all those guys that aren't in that special teams that day, we come over there and we kind of work on and design our own plays with the coaches. We have a little window there where Coach Reed, he lets special teams obviously have a big part of the practice, and so we work on our plays then, and then I take them to Coach Reed and we see if we can get them in the game plan.
Patrick, these Raiders week, what makes them so different?
Yeah, you just know it's going to be a battle every single time. It's going to be both teams trying to play their best football. It's a true rivalry. We know that it doesn't matter what the records are. You're going to go out there and play. It's going to be a dogfight. And they got a great football team. Their record, they don't have the best record, but every game they've been in the game or been leading the game at certain points. So we understand it's going to be a great challenge for us. And especially Monday night at Arrowhead, we want to go out there and find a way to win.
Last two go Harold and then Matt. Go Harold.
Patrick, how did you convince Andy to do the commercial, and then what did you think of Andy's acting performance?
Yeah, I made State Farm ask him first because I was scared. But once they asked him, he kind of came to me and asked me if I wanted him to do it, and obviously I did because I know how much personality he has. I think some of y'all understand it too, and people don't see it. They see the coach. They don't see how funny he is and how funny he is. And then once I got in there, he actually got to start before me, and then I came in. He did a great job. I think he stole the show, and I'm just trying to hold on to my State Farm partnership now with Coach Reed.
He was really good. Patrick, you've been on the road a bunch this season. Just how excited are you to get back and play in front of Chiefs Kingdom on Monday night?
Yeah, you said it, man. I'm super excited. Luckily for us, it'll be our second primetime game at Arrowhead. I'm excited to be in front of Chiefs Kingdom. They brought it that first game, and I know they're going to bring it on Monday night. I'm ready to be back home.
Thanks, Patrick.
Patrick, does that hoodie come like that sleeveless, or do you cut it?
All right, there's Patrick Mahomes. Go ahead, Beards. All right, never mind. Okay, very good. We had a liner we were going to play. There's Patrick Mahomes talking with the media as they get set to return back home against the Raiders on Monday night.
We've heard a lot over the years about the little, I think was Tom and Jerry one with Clyde and Kelsey last year, the little trick plays with the funny names. Kind of always wonder when exactly they do those.
Yeah.
During special teams for the guys that aren't out there on special teams.
Great. That's, when do they... Here's Chad Henney's in there. Let's come up with cool plays right now. No, during special teams. Here's Isaiah Pacheco.
It's the only place you're allowed to hit. When I'm out there, I'm going to leave it all out there.
coaching staff and Pat just complimentary of how you've come along in the playbook and sort of understanding where the blocking is. Can you just kind of describe what that process has been like for these past couple weeks?
Definitely coming in early and getting a head start, everything, understanding the playbook, just taking day by day, and listening to the older guys in the running back room, taking notes, and then when I get in there, just making the most out of the opportunity.
When you get a chance to see yourself on film, how are you critiquing yourself? Like if you go back and watch Sunday Night Football, if you're seeing yourself in the meeting rooms, how are you grading yourself?
Just definitely going back into the film and just picking 3 things to get better off of. And that's what I'm looking for, pick 3 categories that I need to work at and get better and, get better at it.
This might be a funny way to put it, but how much does understanding the playbook affect how you physically can go at it? Like, your pace, your patience, your just, how hard you can go. I mean, does it change that the more you understand?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, understanding it a little bit better helps me play faster. So if I'm out there, I'm kind of confused, I don't really know the play, and I'm not going to be able to play as fast as I can. So, when it's come out there in practice, for me to listen to the play, listen to the words that speak to me, and then when I hear those words, and go out there and execute it as fast as I can.
How do you balance this? I mean, obviously you have the speed in this game, and you're even fast for what this game has with athletes out there. But sometimes, we've seen guys like Le'Veon Bell that, looks like he's having a snack and just kind of looking for things, and then he takes off. Like, how do you balance that, the patience with, maybe letting the hole develop versus hitting the hole quick?
That's where I come in, looking at those 3 things that I need to get better off of, listening to coach when it comes to the film session, it tells me to be a lot more patient, and that's the best way to see it when you're in the film room. You get the better feel of the reads that I could have hit, which hole I could have went which way. So definitely, like you said, taking that time and being patient will help me, and keep listening to coach on that note.
Is the coaching different at the levels? Because like Pee Wee football, every coach is yelling at you to hit the hole fast, right? That's all they do. But like I said, in the NFL, there's more nuance to it. What was it like in college? Were they preaching patience, or were they telling you to hit the hole fast? Like,
they were preaching patience and everything, but the NFL is a lot more different. I feel as though the speed's faster. So for me, just when I got in those All-Star games I played in, it was kind of getting a feel for a different offensive line. And when I got here and kind of just getting the feel for the offensive line, the speed of it, and the game, being more game likes and getting more game reps, definitely gonna help me more.
Not to say you didn't have production in previous games, but it sort of felt like you were hitting a stride. There was maybe like a breakthrough on the net. Did you feel that, or going on in the Bucs game, where it felt like, okay, this is starting to come a little bit easier? The game, the pace of the game was slowing down a little bit for you.
I was out there having fun, so I really wasn't worried about anything but besides winning. So for me, whatever I had to do to get my job done on the field, that's what I was worried about.
Isaiah, you mentioned those 3 things that you wanted to work on. I know you came into the league. We talked a couple of times. Just talked about your confidence. How much has that confidence helped you, week in, week out?
Like I was saying before, the confidence is helping me a lot more. Being able to play faster, being confident in the play and the scheme, and understanding my job allows me to go out there and execute and play faster to protect Patrick.
You mentioned the 3 things that you want to take away each week. Can you give an example of like what one of those things may be?
I'll say the patience and being able to read the defense a little bit more better, and being able to read the defender's moves. Like a linebacker, for instance, being able to read his moves. So when I come there on game day, help me be able to attack him more.
I say a couple of those outside zone runs. You were hitting one of the last gaps on the perimeter. Is that a good indication of the patience you're talking about?
Definitely, yes, sir. That's the scheme of the play, and find it and be patient until you see it and you hit it.
With you doing kickoff returns, do you think that kind of helps you get ready since you're not starting in every game? Do you think that kind of gives you a little bit of extra juice? You get the ball in your hand, and then when you do get your opportunity to come in on offense, you're already going instead of just coming off the bench cold. You're ready to go since you've already had a couple of returns.
Like I said before, whatever coach wanted me to do, I'm gonna do it. And for me to be out there on kick KOR, the return to kick, get a good spot for the offense, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna keep working hard and execute.
Some of the commentary surrounding you, this guy really runs hard. At what stage of your life did people start to notice, like, okay, Isaiah's a little bit different, and how hard he can hit the hole?
Probably in high school, people realize that. But, for me, just being the same guy and not changing and coming to work every day, working hard, so it shows on the field.
It was pretty well talked about that, maybe a challenge put out there to the line in the running game after the Indy game, and that challenge was met. And you had a number of physical runs in there. Like, what's the vibe like in the huddle when you come back? And you had one in particular where it looked like you were stopped, and then all of a sudden the pile's moving, and you're firing out there. And like, when you come back into the huddle, what's it? We don't ever get to hear what's said in there. Does that amp everybody up? Does everybody build on that?
When I get in the huddle, my first intentions is to get in the O-line's face and tell them, like, let's go, man, let's hit this hole, let's get rolling. To give them a little bit more juice and bring a little bit more to the game. And, I love my offensive linemen, so for me to, be a guy to be an extra voice, I'm going to do it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, there's Isaiah Pacheco. We'll see if he continues to get more and more reps, as looked pretty good against the Bucs, and a nice combination as Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco. Nothing incredibly special or over the top or greatest running backs you've ever seen, but simply do the job. Be good, be efficient, pick up the yards that are there, maybe a little bit more as well, and then give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes.
I like Pacheco, man. I liked him out of college. I was excited about the fit early in the offense. He looked really good against the Bucs. What's he going to look like in 15 or 16 games? What's he going to look like in year 2 with another offseason, where the things out of college for him were patience and vision and being able to read the defense and individual defenders' movements, which is what he's talking about working on right now. Mm-hmm. If he can bring those things together, and it sounds like he has the absolute right mindset for it, if he can bring that all together, I think he could be a really strong running back in this offense.
And I think he looks quicker and faster because, again, this is not to compliment somebody, is to take a shot
He's
at somebody else.
He's the most explosive guy in that room.
Yeah, it's not to take a shot at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Edwards-Helaire, when he's surveying and then sees the hole, doesn't have the burst to get there like Pacheco does. So when Pacheco has the patience and then sees it and fires, I think it makes it look a lot quicker and more explosive because it's compared to somebody who doesn't have that explosiveness when they're recognizing the hole is there. But it also helps when the defense is dealing with those two things as well.
And I'm glad to hear him talk about the patience aspect. I'm excited to hear people asking him about it, because that was something that we talked about in the post-game show right after Chiefs Bucs. I've got evidence of this one. That jumped off the screen to me. I had to say during the post-game show, hey, I'm not comparing him to Le'Veon Bell. You heard Soren say, Le'Veon Bell back there looked like he had time to make a little snack for himself if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But if that evolution can continue to happen, and really, that should be a thing for that entire running back room to keep developing. I think that's a really underrated, maybe the most underrated trait for an NFL running back. But specifically for Pacheco, I think you've already seen some growth there.
Yeah, and I certainly have. I've seen in this game against the Bucs what people who were at practice and at training camp were seeing and talking about with Isaiah Pacheco. I hadn't seen it for myself yet. And then I did against the Bucs. And so, yeah, I understand that. And I'd like to see him get more carries, even if it's at the detriment of my fantasy football team, which everybody cares about.
Everybody cares about
even
that.
If it's at the detriment of that, Josh.
Or your deep love of Jerick McKinnon.
Even at the detriment of Jerick McKinnon, who's on my fantasy football
cares.
bench. I was waiting for Beers to get that.
Had to move around some folders.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Even if it's at the detriment of that, it's best for the Chiefs. I don't really care about the, fantasy football. What happens, happens. But he was running with a different style and attitude and aggressiveness that I like to see. And so, yeah, I think that if Pacheco can continue to get better at even pass protection as well, that can he turn into a 3-down back? Maybe that's the part of the equation that Chiefs front office is excited about, is you increase the pass protection. You get to the part where maybe you're not ever going to be as good as Jerick McKinnon or Darrell Williams, but you get close to that, and you're also somebody on first and second down who can run the ball, who can catch the ball. But yeah, do you have a guy who's a 3-down back, and you don't have to split those reps and say, well, this guy can't be in on third down, and so Jerick McKinnon's in on third down because we know he's going to protect the passer. And Pacheco's had a couple of good reps when he's had to step in and, lay a block. And it happened against the Chargers that he had to step in and lay the block. And that was the 30-yard pass down the field to Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
That got I think that was the third quarter that got that drive going.
That's right.
And got the second half going, that Pacheco had to stand in there, size up the defender. I can't remember who it was. It Bosa? No, it was blitzing Derwin James.
That's right.
It was James blitzing, and he stood right in and stood his ground. And Derwin James hits him. He doesn't, go backwards into Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes hits McCole Hardman, and the Chiefs are off and running on that possession.
It's
so
very hard
impressive
to get on the field as a Chiefs running back if you can't be trusted to, as Pacheco said in the presser, be back there and protect Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You cannot be a liability there, because the way that this is all happening at the higher level than is evident the first time you watch any game is that there is a reliance. If you are relying on a running back in a pass pro set like that, you are relying on that running back to be the last line of defense between probably an expected rusher, between your quarterback and potentially a devastating hit, certainly devastating to the drive, and being able to have all day in the pocket, have the running back either clean up some messes or prepare for a blitzing Derwin James. That is a total tipping point between a disastrous play for the offense and a game-changing play for the offense. That's why you have to clear that bar. Seth Kaiser does the must be this tall to ride roller coaster analogy a lot. This is where I would use it. You must be at least this good at pass pro to justify your spot on the field in passing situations.
And plus, it's both mental and physical. It's the physical part to being able to stand in there when Derwin James is blitzing and running as fast as he can, to know that this is going to be a collision, and I know 2 feet behind me is Patrick Mahomes. You ain't getting to Patrick Mahomes. But also, it's between the ears to know that the pass protection call, what Creed Humphrey's calling out, what Patrick Mahomes, yellow, gold, white, all the different pass protections that they're doing, and whoever is going to be the mic, that you know what your job, how that changes along with it, that if this guy is going to blitz, that I'm not just looking to the right to double team as to whoever's going to be by Andrew Wiley, and somebody comes right up the gut, and Patrick Mahomes is looking at you saying, that's your guy. Like, what happened? Like, you had better be aware of that, because if there's even the slightest bit of a lack of trust by the Chiefs in those situations, there's no way they're putting you in the game. They'll go with Jerick McKinnon.
That is a very good way to eliminate yourself from contention to, as he said on draft day, take another grown man's job.
Yeah.
You cannot take another grown man's job if you cannot be put on the field. And them already having this much faith in Pacheco to be out there and to be asked to block Derwin James or whoever it may be continues to say really good things about where he's headed.
Yeah, because it will. This is going to come as a surprise to people, but I like Jerick McKinnon.
What?
But it can make him redundant.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing McKinnon as the change of pace guy. You're seeing Pacheco as the change of pace guy and McKinnon as the third down back. Whereas my assessment of the running back room and that group was Edwards-Helaire is the starter, Pacheco's the backup, Jerick McKinnon's the third down back. If Edwards-Helaire were injured, Jerick McKinnon would be the starter. Pacheco would still be the backup playing that role, that there would be more trust in having Jerick McKinnon. But that's not the case 4 weeks into the season now, that if Edwards-Helaire goes down, I do believe it would be more Pacheco, and McKinnon would be closer to his role than Pacheco is to his role. I think you'd see more McKinnon. You'd see more of a split there, but I think Pacheco would be, McKinnon would be closer to the third down back and sort of not even a change of pace, just a different guy carrying the ball in this committee, rather than Pacheco. Here's your number of plays you're getting. Right. These are the reps you're getting. Pacheco or McKinnon's just going to slide into what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was doing.
And we talked all preseason and training camp and everything about how Ronald Jones is not the guy you want back there in pass pro. You don't want him to be your pass catcher, but he can bruise you on first and second down. Frankly, if Clyde goes down, I wonder if Ronald Jones could go from from healthy scratch to starter in 1 week, simply because of the role where I could see him getting the first carry of the game on 1st and 10. But then you truly would have that committee of Jerick McKinnon, the trusted pass catcher, and still the most trusted pass protector, but a guy that you're not trying to get. Nobody on planet Earth, including Jerick McKinnon, wants Jerick McKinnon to get 20 touches a game. That is not good for his body at this point.
No.
But if you can utilize him as a weapon, Pacheco becomes the young guy in that group who you think you probably could put 20 touches on if you said, hey, we need someone who can be out there to handle the punishment, dole it out yourself. You heard at the very beginning of the presser, I'm talking about the one place in football you can still hit someone as hard as you want, is as they running back with the ball in your hand. I think he could take a pretty good chunk of that work. And look, with a healthy Clyde, what you and Matt Lane were saying, that look, none of this undercuts what Clyde's done so far.
Right.
He's been tremendous in the red zone, which is useful in and of itself. Clyde
especially to my
Edwards-Helaire,
fantasy team,
which is huge, which people care about. If
Nobody
Pacheco could get more early down work in the middle of the field, that would not bother me. That would not surprise me, and I think it would still make sense also for the health of Clyde. The running back room in the NFL level is always going to be a committee in one way or another. The Colts have entered committee mode, partially because Nyheim Hines is a good running back, partially because Jonathan Taylor's not playing tonight, because running backs get hurt. It is a violent position. So the group of guys the Chiefs have there is the most exciting it's been in a while, I think.
I mean, who are the primary running backs in the NFL? Derrick Henry,
who missed a big chunk of last season.
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook missed a lot of time. Alvin Kamara's missed a lot of time. Jonathan Taylor's missing time right now. Christian McCaffrey misses a ton of time all the time. Joe Mixon's an interesting one because he missed, I think, like half a season a few years back, but has mostly stayed pretty healthy outside of that.
See, I just think of like
Zeke.
Yeah, but it's Zeke and Pollard.
Right now, they're in committee mode now.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like guys who aren't in a committee. It's like, here's your running back. Like even Javonte Williams, who we felt was the better runner between the two, was splitting with Melvin Gordon.
Yep.
And even Melvin Gordon is going to be splitting with Boone.
Mike Boone, I think. Right?
Mike Boone. Daniel Boone. Right. So Josh Jacobs is a guy that really doesn't. He
didn't get his fifth-year option picked up.
Right. But
they went and paid Kenyon Drake a bunch of money last offseason.
But he's their running back. It's not a committee, right? It's not Josh Jacobs and somebody else. It's not Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco that that are getting the reps right now. It's not Miles Sanders and Gainwell and things like that. It's not Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. It's not Dobbins and whoever else there and Ty Hill with Baltimore and Chubb and Hunt. Like Nick Chubb could be a feature back on any team in the NFL, yet he still splits with Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt could be a featured back on almost any team in the NFL.
Yeah.
And yes.
James
that's
Robinson
the
and Travis
example.
Etienne, in Jacksonville.
And like that draft pick shouldn't have happened either. But yeah, it's just either by choice or by force, your running backs will split carries over the course of a season.
Yeah, and we're just seeing it way more than we ever have. And, it keeps them healthy throughout the full part of the season. It maybe keeps defenses with different types of players to tackle. Derrick Henry, in the game what you're going up against. You would better bring it. You'd better be ready to go, and you'd better be wanting to have an entire team tackling Derrick Henry. Going up against a guy like Pacheco or Etienne is going to be different, quicker, shiftier, and you'd better understand your angles when you're going up against that guy. Although Derrick Henry, you need to understand your angles too, because he's going to surprise and run right by you, something like that. So should we take a timeout here? Do we think, okay, let's take a timeout. We're waiting on Mecole Hardman. So we'll take a timeout and come back and more zone with Mecole Hardman at the podium whenever he gets there next.
Patrick Mahomes press conference brought to you by Xfinity Sports Zone. Xfinity Sports Zone, the ultimate sports hub experience, only from Xfinity. By Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, the only Volvo dealership in Kansas City, where luxury and safety meet. Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park at 78th and Metcalf, or PremierVolvoCarsOverlandPark.com. And by Westlake Ace Hardware. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware today, online at westlakehardware.com. Westlake Ace Hardware. Small projects, big no.
You're in the zone.
Let's start with sports. Do you guys still have the 6 TV question?
We do have that one. That is Tua Tagovailoa had a big day on Sunday in the comeback win.
With Jason Anderson.
Tua Tagovailoa
on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
So you guys thought I was talking about Tua Tagovailoa. I wasn't. I was talking about a different Tua. That was Tua Tagovailoa. It's a total different guy. Pacific Northwesterner as well, but not the same. It's like Brisco with an E. See? That's what I'm saying. There's difference, right?
Totally different.
Right?
The door has been opened to have that conversation on the show now.
Really? Why? It's spelled with an E, correct? We'll hear from McCole Hardman.
It's actually not correct, James.
Well, James Anderson is with us.
That clip has done me the great favor of always having a counterpunch.
I love it.
With Rudy, my Brisco with an E counterpunch was to just start going, Rudy, because he hated that. He hated Rudy Salad Bar, but less than he hated Rudy.
See, the counterpunch would be what so many people confuse my name with is Jason Alexander. That's always been the counterpunch with me.
I just don't. But the issue for me is that I don't know who that is.
You do. Stop.
I do.
I know you do. But now with the, going on that, the national
He's my
show
favorite,
and
my favorite actor from The Office.
James Anderson. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. It's a huge. You know what? He's one of my favorite Yankee front office executives.
See, I actually shockingly get that reference.
Jason Alexander. What was that bad? Should I not have done that? Had I known that was frowned upon. But yeah, it's always been like Jason Alexander. Like, hey, Jason Alexander. No, Jason Anderson.
I was just Googling the Jason Alexander we're talking about.
The actual one, the real one?
But also Jason Allen Alexander was Britney Spears' husband for he's on Google, married from 2004 to 2004.
Oh, wow. How about that? Not a typo.
Don't believe so.
Interesting.
Not the beloved actor, best known for playing George Costanza, but the 40-year-old who was married to Britney Spears for 55 hours in 2004.
Not the beloved actor. Nothing beloved about this person. Even Brittany Mahomes didn't have beloved feelings for him, at least for more than 55 hours. Not for 56, certainly.
You just said Brittany Mahomes, right? Did you say Brittany Mahomes?
Jeez Louise, man. Britney Spears,
okay,
sorry.
Okay.
But here's the thing. That's also factually correct, right?
I don't know that Brittany Mahomes has any feelings towards either Jason Alexander. We should ask her.
Right, but Jason Allen Alexander, I guarantee she does not have love. Like, she is not in love with that guy.
I feel like that should be the next, whenever she is at the podium for anything. I don't know when that would be.
The Current's doing groundbreaking tonight. You might
think we should have that
tonight.
That as the intro?
Yes.
That Brittany Mahomes has no love and is not in love with Britney Spears' ex-husband. Well, I need to go out there and ask then.
Well, ideally, you would just say, Brittany, talk about Jason Alexander. Jason Allen Alexander.
Or
that
name's Jason Alexander. Which one do you care for more?
Terrible name, by the way. Jason Allen Alexander.
I mean,
no wonder it didn't work out with Brittany.
No kidding.
You can't even yell at him with his full name. Jason Allen.
Tua Tagovailoa. Jason Allen.
You know what? I can't do it. It's 55 hours and I hate your name.
55
I'm
hours.
out.
I got to learn more about this. I'll be reading this whenever McCole Hardman's at the podium, which is not yet.
No, it is not yet. We'll wait for whenever McCole wants to get there.
I guess that he's talking today is good news for his heel.
He's typically faster.
I was going to say, hopefully he's saving all that speed for the field.
Yeah, there you go.
He typically gets to his spot a little quicker.
Maybe he's standing at a slightly wrong podium somewhere else in the building.
I was going to say, if it's anything like the routes that Mahomes thinks he runs, then he's probably going the wrong way. You think
the Chiefs do him dirty, man? They
you
keep
think Brad
putting him
G
out
is?
after...
You think Brad G is pointing a different way? Like,
yeah.
McCole, no, you were supposed to go to the. All right, never mind. We'll get it there. We'll just call the next play.
I feel like the Chiefs always put McCole Hardman at the podium after he has like a 2-for-12 game.
Oh, he didn't have a 2-for-12. He had a 1-for-4.
And then I was pulling up to see exactly what it was. It was 1-for-4.
I included him on a same game parlay.
That's why you know.
Of a
people care about this.
10 or more yards receiving.
Nobody cares.
From McCole Hardman.
Ugh.
Do you know on the first drive, he had his 4-yard reception on the first drive of the game? I'm like, oh, That's done. That's going to be taken care of.
Hey, I had a McCole Hardman stat that I actually really wanted to get to yesterday.
Please.
We never had time, so I could actually give you this now.
Give me the stat.
Did you see that Andy Isabella was released yesterday from the Arizona Cardinals?
I did not.
Well, he was. And here's
How did I miss that?
Here's my reference point. Because Andy Isabella was selected 62nd overall in the 2019 NFL Draft. So A.J. Brown went a handful of picks before McCole Hardman. DK Metcalf went, I believe, 63, actually. He went a few picks after McCole Hardman. So McCole Hardman usually has his career compared to those two guys. Here's my point of reference for the 2019 draft and McCole Hardman. Hardman gets compared to those guys all the time, but he has more career receiving yards than the next 3 drafted wide receivers behind him combined.
Hold on. Paris Campbell.
59. Andy Isabella, 62.
Isabella.
One went directly, the pick after McCole Hardman at 57.
I don't remember who that was.
Has the same first name as the Royals' new general manager. At least has the same version of it.
J.J. Whiteside?
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Arcega-Whiteside, Campbell, Isabella, those 3 guys have combined for significantly fewer receiving yards than McCole Hardman over the course of their careers.
But then after them, it gets pretty good with DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin.
Yep.
Is like in the 3rd round. There's somebody else that's in the 3rd round that was pretty good as well.
But it's interesting that we all, and this makes sense, we see Terry McLaurin, we see DK Metcalf on our screens every Sunday. He's on your fantasy lineups.
Yeah.
Those names are in front of your eyes, so you think, oh man, McCole Hardman's fine, but man, the Chiefs missed on DK Metcalf or Terry McLaurin or whoever. We do not see or remember all of the names of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside or Paris Campbell or Andy Isabella.
Thank goodness it wasn't Andy Isabella they picked. That's not what we're saying every week.
We never ever do that because you only remember the guys who have kept themselves in the public consciousness. So I think those little heat checks can be useful to be reminded that McCole Hardman from the receiver position was ultimately probably the 2nd, maybe 3rd best pick to make at that position at that spot, with 3 total misses immediately following him.
The reason I remember Paris Campbell is because, and I got it wrong, that's who I wanted the Chiefs to take.
Sure.
And they were like, I
like Andy Isabella.
They're going to draft a deep threat. I'm like, Paris Campbell, man, that guy is as fast as the wind at Ohio State, man. Get that guy. The Ohio State receivers, they're all over the place, right? I mean, Olave and Garrett Wilson, and you'll see him more. But Deontay Johnson was after DK Metcalf.
Did you see that they brought back Chris Conley?
Yeah.
When did that happen? Matt Derrick just tweeted about it.
Yeah, when they brought back Andy Reid was asked about it in the press conference. Did you listen?
I heard him talk about Marcus Kemp. We're talking about that, but I think we missed the very beginning of it. I did not hear anyone say Chris Conley's name.
Yeah, he said, "What do you think of Conley back?"
I saw that he got waived. I thought that all of that context of that was about Marcus Kemp.
No, not at all.
Totally whiffed on that.
Nope, you're dumb.
When did they bring back? Because Chris Conley got this is when I recognize this. Chris Conley was released in the same transaction report as Andy Isabella, so I knew he was released. I did not know he was a Chief.
Going through and looking at the
that's kind of fun.
The wide receivers. So it was Deontay Johnson and Terry McLaurin were who I was thinking of that went after DK Metcalf, because the other wide receivers after that were Miles Boykin, with Baltimore for a little bit. Hakeem Butler, Cardinals. Gary Jennings Jr. Riley Ridley from Georgia. I remember that guy. Yeah. So
we remember there were the
3 guys,
misses.
Yeah, there were 3 guys taken after McCole that were like, yeah, those guys are pretty good. But also, Deontay Johnson has trouble catching the football. I'd love to have Deontay Johnson on the Chiefs. I don't know that the Chiefs would love to have Deontay Johnson on the Chiefs because he drops too many footballs, probably for Patrick Mahomes' liking and for Andy Reid's liking. DK Metcalf is a stud, and Terry McLaurin is awesome. He's really good. So, yeah, there are some good receivers at that spot. And, oh, by the way, they still got it right with Juan Thornhill.
Yep.
At safety at number 63, right in front of DK Metcalf. Of course, they could have just drafted Juan Thornhill up there and taken DK Metcalf.
Could have played DK Metcalf at safety.
Oh, they could have. Texas would have recruited him to play safety.
Matt Derrick is the first person to tweet the phrase "Chris Conley Chiefs" since he got cut. Matt Derrick breaking news.
He's not the first. Did Matt Derrick ask Andy? Because somebody asked Andy Reid. I heard Chris Conley being back with the Chiefs. And he was like, yeah, he said he's doing the practice squad route.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard the answer and just thought it was all about Marcus Kemp because Beards. Oh, I think also Beards had a little talk back there and something about Kent. We were making jokes about Kent Swanson,
'Cause it was Kemp.
Because it was Kemp. And I said to Beard, no, it's Kemp.
I legitimately heard Kent there.
Right. But Kent.
But I was like, oh, yeah,
was
don't
after
worry about
Conley.
it. Kemp is back, Beard. I'm on top of it. And I missed that Chris Conley was back.
It's after Chris Conley conversation. Okay, so we'll take a timeout. We'll come back and maybe hear from McCole Hardman at some point today before J.J. Piccolo talks at 2 o'clock. And we'll have that live right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Took Jason an hour and 40 minutes to find the stats, 2.5 hours to tell the story.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so we're back. We're going to hear from McCole Hardman. Right as we went to break, we were told he is on his way. And in fact, is going to be there any second. Like any second from now. Any of the seconds from now. Hey, there he is, McCole Hardman.
I don't know, energy or attitude difference with the team from Indianapolis to Tampa. Did you feel something different during the week as you guys were building up for the game last week?
No, I just really locking in, getting back to the basics, man, fundamentals, and having a good week of practice, having a good game plan to execute it. So that's kind of what we was doing throughout the week, and then got to Sunday and just put out there on the field.
Well, how would you characterize how your season's gone so far?
It's going good, man. Just trying to get healthy for real. A little banged up from the Chargers game still. But just trying to get healthy, man, and just doing what I can do to help the team in the best way I can.
Can you characterize kind of what you're going through right now with that, trying to play through it?
It's just the heel still. Some injury I never dealt with before, but taking the right necessary steps to get back fully healthy and get back running full speed. So.
Was there any thought about fearing the worst based on watching the replay of it? Did you feel like it could have been a worse injury?
Oh man, yeah. I didn't know it looked that bad honestly until I watched the film, and it looked crazy watching it. But luckily it was just the heel, and it's definitely an injury that you can play through. So I'm happy it was just that.
Andy has mentioned that might have been hindering you these past couple of weeks. What specifically has it impacted? Is it like a speed thing or turning on routes, and like what specifically is it hindering?
Oh yeah, it's just it's like more of a you can't do everything you want to do type thing. It's definitely a pain tolerance that you can tolerate as far as cutting or going full speed or even stopping. But it's just something you just gotta work at and treat daily to get back right. So it's nothing too crazy.
Is this something that you feel can linger, or how close to being fully healthy do you think you are?
I think I'm right there, honestly. It's going on the third week. I think today is the third week actually. So I don't think it's lingering. Will linger. I never really had this injury before to tell you if it'll linger around, but I'm close to being out the training room and being back to 100%. So.
Cole, there was a play where you appeared to be pretty open in the end zone in one play in Tampa. Do you have a conversation about that, or does that pop up in film?
You see it on film. It's just something to talk about and something to look at going forward. Just one of those misreads thing, and you can't blame nobody for that. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. So, but it's just something to talk about at film and probably, a play we can go back to later in the season.
Well, we know the changes that happened this offseason. Now you got about a quarter of the way. Would you describe the identity of the wide receiver room so far?
I think we still really building and creating that identity, honestly. then we got a good group of guys. I think Scott coming along well. Justin Watson is going to be a big piece later in the season, and obviously me, Quez, and Juju, we just got to lead the way for those guys and just be them veterans for them. So it's definitely that identity still being built, and but it's coming along well.
Anything you've noticed so far about the Raiders secondary?
Kind of same old secondary, honestly. I think they led by 2-4. A group of guys that are gonna get after the ball. It's gonna challenge you every single play, and so we just gotta be something we gotta be ready for. Get ready to be ready for them guys. Get in on the run game. Get ready to block them guys, and just make plays when we have a chance to. So, but they're definitely a good group of guys, and we're gonna look forward to playing them. So,
Nicole, does the contract situation, does that weigh on you at all?
you said the contract situation?
Yeah.
Oh, nah, man. I'm just letting the play speak for itself. Just make some plays here and there, and whenever your number called, take advantage of it, and then they'll take care of itself.
Not necessarily about your game or anything like that, but did you see the play in the Rams game where the fan ran on the field and Bobby Wagner hit him? And I guess now the fan has filed a police report or something. Do you have any thoughts on, have you ever seen a fan run on the field? Do you ever think about taking it out yourself? And does it make you think differently if someone's going to file a police report?
Nah, I kind of be cheering them on, honestly. Hey, get away from them, see how many times they can, make the people miss. So I think it's kind of like a show to watch, honestly, like a comedy show. And but I don't think I'd ever if I just hit this fan or something, or unless maybe they come try to mess with me or something, then maybe. But nah, I heard he filed a police or a lawsuit or something against Bobby Wagner.
Police report, I guess.
Yeah, because I feel like it's not our job to do that. So, I guess he got a right to file a lawsuit, I guess. Hope he don't win it because, I don't want Bobby out of no money or anything like that. But it's definitely fun to watch the fans on the field, though. That's hilarious. But I never think about trying to do anything.
Last one, Darren, so you got to get going. Okay?
Obviously, fourth year against the Raiders. What's Raider week mean to you?
Just win the game, man. I don't like to hear those guys, brag on beating us or anything like that. But it's one of those rivalry games that's been around before, before I even got here. So it's a game you definitely want to win, a game you look forward to, and it's Monday Night Football. So it don't get really much better than that. So definitely a week to prepare and get ready. Know it's going to be a hard game, a hard challenge, no matter how good each team is. It's one of those games that you got to be prepared for. So.
Okay. Thanks, McCall.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, McCall.
All right, there's McCole Hardman. Entertained during games when fans run out on the field. He wants to see how often they can juke the guys and see if how long he can stay out there.
Hey, can I be Brad G real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, McCole. Let's try not to encourage more fans running onto the field in the future. Just great press rather than that, but just
Why, Brad? It's fun.
It's fun, Brad.
It's fun. I can't control it. I'm not encouraging more people to run out there. If somebody's going to run out there, they're going to run out there. Also, dude's filing a lawsuit.
Yeah.
You forfeit any health when you run out on the field. You forfeit any health. A player blindside you, put a shoulder to you. I don't care. You're running out on the field. Too bad. It's your choice. You chose to run out on the field. Therefore, you chose of an opportunity to get hit by Bobby Wagner.
Let's just normalize it. Hey, you can run out onto the field if you want to.
Yes.
But Bobby Wagner will be there.
Yep. Or whoever. Frank Clark. Juan Thornhill. Brian Cook. Sports or Leisure next.
I'll stay in the stands.
but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, so here's the deal. Playing some sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 at Johnny's Tavern on the line for those that get a sports question and a leisure question right. You win. Get either of the questions wrong, you lose. Sorry about that. That's just the way the game goes. I mean, not everybody can win unless you get them both right. If you get a question wrong, the question is out there available for someone to call in and request. We do not give out the answer until somebody has answered it correctly or we are done playing the game and we have run out of time, which today will be sooner and quicker than it typically is in the 1 o'clock hour on a Thursday because of the press conferences and all of that stuff. And we will be done early today because we are going to have J.J. Piccolo's press conference live at 2 o'clock. So Seren will be on around 1:55 or so. So we are going to have a quicker hour, and it will be less time to play sports or leisure. With that being said, let's go ahead and do it. The categories on the sports side, we have we still have the Brady Bunch from last week, but we've also now added Raiders, so Chiefs and Raiders games in the history of that rivalry. We've got college football, and we've got Major League Baseball on the sports side. What about leisure, Josh?
We have the category that just won't die, relatively challenging Marvel questions from intern Dylan.
Okay.
We have the commonly misspelled word spelling bee. We have a rejuvenated pun name game. I really stumped Beards on one that I was testing earlier this morning.
Which one is it? What is it? Tell me.
Well,
I won't tell you.
I mean, unfortunately, I'll tell you during the break.
Okay.
And then Let's Get Greeky is based off a lot of Greek mythology. George Karloftis. I think there was another Greek connection for last week that I've forgotten about since then. Doesn't matter.
The song "Freak Me, Babe," but
ended
Greek,
up being a part of it very heavily. I can't remember all of that.
We should do that.
Food.
We should do that song. We should have the R&B slow jam. Greek Me.
I think you and I are
Greek
properly equipped to do that. I think, yes, Greek Me QB is something that I think we could certainly produce. I'm sure it would be excellent also. People will love it.
All right. 913-3-810-810. 913-3-810-810 is the phone number. 913-3-810-810. I'm ready to go. Josh, you ready to play?
I am ready to play.
Beards, are you ready to play?
No.
I didn't think you were. Beards he's got 17 things he is juggling back there with breaks and planning stuff and scheduling and all of the things that have been the clock is all messed up.
In Beards' head right now, there are 47 different alarm clocks going off, but they're all different tones and different songs and different beeping. And that's just a normal Thursday for Beards.
Yeah. Beards lives in the house that is a collector of like cuckoo clocks and grandfather clocks.
Holy
and
cow.
It hits 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock all at the same time.
That's what's
going on in his mind.
That was so visceral that I got anxious just thinking about being in that house at 3 o'clock just then. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yes. Andrew leads us off on Sports Radio 810 WHB for sports or leisure. Andrew, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Let's go let's do Marvel.
Okay, on the relatively challenging Marvel front, in Deadpool, Wade Wilson teams up with Colossus and what other X-Men member?
Man. It's the long one.
It is. You're on the right track.
Yeah.
I can't give it
over teenage.
The second word is exactly correct. You've nailed the second word.
Yeah.
There's a sour candy in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lost. I can't even give a hint.
I wouldn't have gotten this one.
I don't
but
know
this is why intern Dylan is the pallbearer for sports or leisure listeners that want to try Marvel questions.
It's relatively difficult.
Just let you in the dirt.
Is it relatively difficult or relatively easy?
Relatively challenging, I believe, is what it's called now.
Okay, so it's sad fans at Reddit.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't get Supernova out of my head, but it is teenage. It's got teenage. God, it's like 3 words. I think
it's 3 words, and the second one's teenage. But you're on the right track, but the wrong words elsewhere. So Give us one more deep shot here. Fire up a half quarter.
Supernova Teenage Dirtbag. I don't know.
You didn't win, but you got a good guess off. That's a win for me.
Andrew, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That was Josh's nickname back in high school.
It really was. Supernova Teenage Dirtbag is exactly what I was.
You're dating Supernova Teenage Dirtbag? Yeah.
Well, no one was dating Supernova Teenage Dirtbag. It's just what I was.
Yeah, the girl that was rebelling from the parents.
That's right. I was a real rebellious
Yes, you were the person that the girls that were mad at their parents would date.
In the homeschool world, that's about right. Actually, I was the bad boy of the
Did
homeschool.
the homeschool
co-op.
get together and have like dances?
Yeah, boy. I have some stories about those.
You have any mixers with the homeschool?
Yeah, and they're exactly what you would think.
All right, let's go to Lucas next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. $25 to Johnny's Tavern. Lucas, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Can I start with Major League Baseball?
Yes, you can. Let's see. Major League Baseball for you. With the Mariners and Phillies making the playoffs this year, they have both snapped the longest playoff droughts of teams. Name either of the two teams that now have the longest playoff drought. They're both tied. Same year.
It's the Angels and Tigers.
Name both of the teams that have the longest. Name the next team who has the next longest playoff drought. The Royals. The Royals are 1 year removed. The Royals are 1 year removed from the longest playoff drought. Anyway, Josh, go ahead. Well done, sir.
We got Marvel, spelling bee, let's get Greeky, and the pun name game.
I'll take that question that's already out there. It's Supersonic Teenage Warhead.
You are like 80% correct.
Is that not what her name is?
You got everything except for the first syllable.
It's not JJ Fad.
Negasonic.
There you go. We'll count it.
Yeah, you're thinking of JJ Fad and Supersonic.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead is the name of this character that I just want to once again
Supersonic
appreciate
motivated
Dylan.
rhymes are created.
Intern Dylan did some good work here.
Lucas, thank you, sir. That's a winner. $25 Johnny's Tavern. Appreciate it, man. Well done.
Bang. It's a winner.
All right, let's go to Matt next up on Sports Radio 8. It's either going to another contestant or me just singing JJ Fad Supersonic. I'll probably go to Matt.
Good call.
For sports or leisure. Matt, what side do you want to start with, sports or leisure?
Shoot, am I still on the line?
What's up?
Hello, am I still there?
Yeah.
Yep, Matt,
you are
you're up.
live.
Cool. All right. Sports, don't give me, I don't know, don't give me KU questions or K-State.
Okay.
Chiefs, Royals, that's fine.
Okay, let's go Chiefs. Let's go Chiefs and Raiders. How about that? Chiefs and Raiders, minimum of 4 games coached. Which coach has the highest winning percentage against the Raiders in Chiefs history?
Crap.
No, he didn't. He lost most of his games.
That wasn't it.
Yep, he lost most of his games.
If that guess was code for Todd Haley, it is not correct.
It isn't. You're right. It is not Todd Haley. Take another guess. Yes, which minimum of 4 games coached?
Can you give me a decade?
Well, if I gave you a decade, that would give it away.
Romeo Cornell.
Minimum of 4 games coached, the best winning
Well,
percentage.
that wouldn't have been,
best winning percentage, not the worst winning percentage. The best winning
All right,
percentage against the Raiders.
There we go.
Which coach?
Are you on train tracks right now? If so, get off
Yes.
the train tracks first.
You know what? I can't. I'm sitting at a train and there's people behind me and I'm waiting.
No, that's okay.
No,
as long
that's
as
good.
I just want to make sure you're away from the train.
Stop. Trains can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sitting here. I've got one train stopped in front of me and the other one coming. And I've got people behind me that I cannot go anywhere.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, do you know which coach
don't
has
get hit by a train.
Yeah, has the highest winning percentage against the Raiders in his career? Minimum of 4 games coached.
Art Shell.
That is also incorrect. Matt, thank you for playing, man. Appreciate it. Best of luck getting past the train tracks.
Just don't get hit by a train.
That's right. Let's go to Sean next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sean, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Let's say I want to try that sports question, but I'm going to go leisure first.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, strategy.
Let's do spelling bee.
This is a word that I added just because it felt relevant a few weeks ago. Please spell the word phlegm.
phlegm?
As in sort of mucus. You know, I was pretty phlegmy for about, 2 months. I think I've cleared it out now. Mucinex, shout out.
I believe it starts with a P.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Let's go.
He did say it starts with a P.
Yeah, your first letter is dead on.
P-H.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Pretty hot and limb.
P-H-L-E-G-M.
Hey, nice job.
Let me clear my throat.
No, don't do that. Nice job. All right, next one is spell the last name of the coach with the highest winning percentage against the Raiders. Or just tell me. What is that the question you wanted on the sports side, was the coach one?
Yeah. I'm thinking it's either Reed or Schottenheimer, I believe.
I was thinking this. I don't know the answer, and the idea of you having to spell Schottenheimer and just going R-E-I-D instead really felt safe. I don't know the answer.
I guess that's kind of why I joked about spelling the last name.
Well, it still could be either one of those guys. So it's funny either way.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny either way. Either it's hard to spell Schottenheimer, or it's easy to spell Reed. I'm not trying to give the answer. I already got it down to 2.
Yeah, but either way, who do you think?
I'm just gonna go Andy Reid.
Damn it.
Andy
Reid, Sean.
Oh, dang it.
R-E-I-D was W-R-O-N-G.
I appreciate it. Let's go to Chuck next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Chuck, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I'll start with sports. Let's go ahead and say Schottenheimer to answer that question.
That is exactly right. Marty Schottenheimer has an .857 winning percentage against the Raiders with the Chiefs. 18-3.
Wow, good grief.
Marty was 18-3. I believe he was 0-21 the week after Raider games, but 18-3 against the Raiders.
Crazy.
By the way, Andy Reid, second best. He's 15-3.
Okay, so there's a chance there.
We'll get there.
You win the next 3 games, you're tied with Marty. And Marty put everything into Raider Week, and Andy Reid just, simply goes and wins games.
What do you like on the leisure side? Marvel, spelling bee, Greek, or the pun name game?
Let's do Marvel. I wish it was comics and movies are fine, so let's go that route.
Okay, well, let me see if I can at least get something that's not specifically, or that could be true across the MCU and back to the books. Where does Steve Rogers grow up?
He grew up in New York.
Could I get a borough?
I believe he's a Brooklyn kid.
You believed correctly. Okay. You could have him and Hod through it. We were giving you the ding. That's what I was looking for. Was Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
That's a Brook win.
We will put you on hold to get your information. Congratulations. $25. Johnny Stavin heading your way. Steve Rogers, I knew the guy. He grew up on 32nd Street, so I don't know about this Brooklyn Steve Rogers. But where did Steve Rogers grow up?
If you could say that you knew a Steve Rogers, I could have given you.
He grew up on Ridgeview Road right next to us. Let's go to Hoss next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hoss, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's start with sports, gentlemen.
All right, we've got the Brady Bunch still. We got Raiders questions. We got college football and Major League Baseball.
Give me the Raiders.
All right, Raiders for you. Okay, so this was a controversial question a couple of years ago, but I'll ask it differently this time. Okay. The Chiefs had a back-and-forth game with the Raiders in the mid-'90s. The Raiders were driving to win the game in overtime. But this player intercepted Jeff Hostetler, returned it for a touchdown to win the game. He got a kiss from Marty Schottenheimer on the forehead after that because he won the game in overtime. Also, Tim Brown ran into the ref, and that's why the ball went right into this guy's hands, and he scored a touchdown. Who was it?
Oh, mid-'90s?
Mid-'90s.
Oh, boy. Your instinct tells you to go with Dale Carter.
It's not. It's not Dale Carter. That would be one instinct, but that instinct is incorrect.
Which you knew already, of course.
Yes. I mean, were you looking for a different decade of Chiefs football and Raiders?
Following your instincts.
I thought I knew a lot about Raiders football, but apparently I do not. I'm trying to hit the old memory banks from the defensive backfield for the Chiefs in the mid-'90s.
Mm-hmm. He was a big free agent signing at the time.
Apparently, I drank those memories away in college. Oh, boy. Big free agent signing.
I'll give you the year. It was 95.
95, the greatest year in music history.
That's right.
Oh, boy. Oh, man, a shot in the dark free agent. The only thing that comes to my mind is Mark McMillan, and I don't think that's right, Mighty Mouse, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot and go Mark McMillan.
It was not Mighty Mouse. It wasn't Mighty Mouse. Hoss, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it, sir. 913-381-810-810. That question is out there.
Was it Chiefs reporter Matt McMullen?
It wasn't.
Was it former NFL player and Detroit Lions GM Matt Millen?
No.
Okay. Those are my three guesses, weirdly enough.
And it was not draft scout Matt Miller either.
Oh, boy. Okay. I'm out of juice.
And it was not Dale Carter or Matt McMillan.
Was it Negasonic Teenage Warhead?
And it wasn't JJ Fad Supersonic.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
Rally House, shop every team in town, college and pro. Come on, it's time to go.
Get ready for kickoff, KC. Rally House has the game day gear you're looking for, including Chiefs sideline gear and the latest college styles.
Kansas, Missouri, Kansas State, Chiefs and Royals make KC great. Rally House, it's your city, it's your house, it's the Rally House.
Gear up in-store and online at rallyhouse.com.
Come watch Thursday Night Football at the new Barstool Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino. Watch the game and place your wagers. Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway and the new Barstool Sportsbook will have everything you need for a great experience. There's no better spot to place your sports bets. Featuring 16 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, and 45 HD TVs. You can place straight bets, parlays, matchups, futures, prop bets, in-play betting, and more. Grab your friends and get in on the action Thursday night at Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I'm Zachary.
For years, you've known the Bob Sight Kia name because our dad was always ready to make you smile.
My brother and I plan to continue the tradition of great customer service you can only get at a family-run dealership.
Come see us today and reserve your incoming Kia vehicle.
At Bob Sight Independence Kia.
And let us show you why we're Kansas City's oldest family-owned Kia dealer.
The Sight family has been in business for almost...
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I was only thinking about myself.
And I was only thinking about myself. And welcome to The Zone, everybody, here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Again, we will we'll hand over the reins to the program early today, as 2 o'clock will be the J.J. Piccolo press conference out at Kauffman Stadium. So Soren will be on a little bit earlier today, about 1:55 or so. 913-381-810. Let's get back into playing a little sports or leisure. Here with the limited time we have, $25 at Johnny's Tavern is yours. If you get a sports question and a leisure question right, you win. We got a couple of questions out there still to get answers to. We head to the phone lines and we bring in Avery. Next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Avery, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
You have a James Hasty question sitting out there?
What are the odds? We actually do.
That's so
isn't that
was
weird?
That a category title? That's so random.
That is such a random, like, who would have thought that a day that we had a James Hasty question, you would call in and ask for a James Hasty question? Yeah. So that old interception in 95 that got a smooch on the forehead from Marty Schottenheimer. Who was that defensive back?
Big free agent signing. He was drafted by the Jets, James Hasty.
Yeah, that's right. He came from the Jets. Good call, James Hasty. Well done. Yes, all right. That is correct. What about on the leisure side? What are the odds we had a James Hasty question?
You can go relatively challenging Marvel questions, the commonly misspelled word spelling bee. Let's get Greeky, some Greek mythology, and the pun name game.
All right, man. We're going to go Greek, and I feel like you're going to ask who, like, the goddess of the hearth is. I get Hasty and Hestia. That would be a combo. We'll see.
If I had a specific question, let me give you this. I mentioned this earlier. I want Jason to know this was already on my sheet.
Okay.
In Greek mythology, who flew too close to the sun and fell to his death when his wax wings melted?
Icarus.
Yep, that's right.
You didn't fly too close to the sun. You flew exactly as close to the sun as you needed to today.
Icarus Doc.
Fly your way to Johnny's Tavern.
That's right. Avery, we will put you on hold and get your information.
Icarus Doc.
Right, and that's the nursery room, right?
That's the nursery room.
Named after that.
Yeah.
Avery, we'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, man.
Thanks, gentlemen.
$25, Johnny's Tavern for Avery. Why were his wings made of wax, though? I mean, you'd think that.
Just get plastic, Icarus.
I mean, come on.
What about something that's not going to melt when it gets too hot?
You're a god.
All right. Was he a god?
Or godlike.
Yeah.
You were around gods. Either way.
You're
Charles,
close enough to God, they know better.
That's exactly. Well, he was. He was right next to the sun. Charles, sports or leisure? Charles, what side do you want to start with, sir?
Well, the previous caller took my James Hasty.
We actually have another one, believe it or not.
What are the odds? We have a whole Hasty category.
Let's go spell.
I heard
spelling bee. It sounds like. Well, then let's do that. What a special occasion, which is also your word. Spell the word occasion.
OCCASION.
Nice job. Nice job.
You guys are making me feel bad about the words that I struggle to spell.
You struggle to spell occasion?
Those double letters, man. I was confiding in you earlier that I still get J.J. Piccolo wrong because I keep putting two C's or one L. I keep screwing it up.
I know. Then I said P-I-C-O-L-L-O, and you were like, well, see, I go P-I-C-C, and I'm like, oh, wait, is it two C's?
I want it to be two J's, two C's, and two L's.
No, it's two J's, one C, two L's.
It's actually just J. Piccolo.
That's right. All right, on to the sports side, sir. What category you think? We got Brady Bunch, we got Raiders, we got college football, and Major League Baseball.
Let's go Brady Bunch.
All right, Brady Bunch for you. Okay, so who batted the pass down in 2019 in the end zone to secure the win in New England 23-16? Who was the Chiefs' defensive back? Chiefs were up 23-16, and it was 4th down and goal. And Brady threw the ball to Edelman, and this defensive back jumped in front and knocked it away, securing the victory in 2019.
D-back 2019. Yeah, I'm blanking out on the cornerbacks. Flowers.
It is incorrect. Charles, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate you being a part of this occasion. Let's go to Matthew next up. A couple of contestants left, Matthew and Daniel, and then we got to go to break. So Matthew next up. Sports or leisure, Matthew? What side do you want to start with?
Let's try the pun name game.
Oh, I love that. Thank you very much. The head coach of Kansas football could seemingly keep the Jayhawk head coaching job for as long as he wants. As long as he never has to be put down after contracting rabies protecting Lawrence from wild wolves.
That is confusing.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
all right.
with you.
Oh, you don't have it?
No.
Well, let's talk through it here. The head coach of Kansas football.
I think we're all aware of that
He
one.
could be there for a long time. The only thing I see stopping him is perhaps contracting rabies and then ultimately having to be violently put down by a member of the family in a heartbreaking fashion that will be told in stories throughout decades.
Okay, I think I've got this. Lance Leipold Yeller.
Correct!
Okay, duh.
Boom!
Pulled Yeller. I like that one.
Thank you.
Well done. On to the sports side, Matthew.
I think I'm going to try that last question there.
Okay, that question was, which cornerback knocked down the pass in the end zone to secure the victory for the Chiefs in 2019 in New England, 23-16?
Was that Bashad Breeland?
Well done.
There
It was
we
Bashad
go.
Breeland. Nice job,
We got
sir.
a pun and a Bashad Breeland reference. What
we got
a day.
pun and an alliteration, all in
Love
the
that.
same contestant. Matthew will put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations, man.
Words are fun.
913-381-0810. Let's go to Daniel as Matthew's heading to Johnny's Tavern with sports or leisure. Daniel, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's go with sports.
All right, we got Brady Bunch, Raiders, college football, and Major League Baseball.
Let's go Brady Bunch.
All right. What Chiefs player has sacked Tom Brady the most times in his career for the Chiefs? So not just like Andy Reid era, going back to 2001? So this Chiefs player has 4 sacks. In fact, twice as many as anybody else.
4 is the most?
Yep.
Oh, this could be anybody then.
Yeah, 4 sacks against Brady.
I mean, the logical thing seems like it could be Chris Jones, or it seems like it could be like a Derek Johnson because he's played he played longer.
Yeah, neither one of those are right. So, but
wow.
I mean, it's not a random like.
It's not L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah.
Right. It's sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It's
not Ron Parker.
I flashed you a jersey number that was my first
Sorry.
guess. But
Yeah,
I have
you're
a
right.
okay.
No,
well,
you're
then
right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
all right,
that's
all
the
right.
jersey number.
I
Just
didn't mean
gonna
to
take a
brag.
shot in the dark. Tom Bahali.
That would have been my second guess.
It was not Tamba.
It's a
was
really good
not
guess,
Tamba
though.
Ali.
Do you know what
Daniel,
Tamba had against him?
thank
Is that on your sheet, or
yeah,
do we?
Yeah, Tamba had 2.
Really?
So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that had 2.
Okay.
And Justin Houston had 4.
Oof.
Tamba Ali is one of the 5 players. You want to throw some darts as to who the other 4 players that had 2 sacks against Tom Brady?
Why don't you let me think about it during the break?
Oh.
And then I can throw a bunch of darts.
You don't want to just do it now?
I don't know. I mean, Beard said to break, and he said to break at 33, and it's 34 now, so our streak of breaking on time is exactly 1 segment long. New high score.
Erase the whiteboard.
Yep.
It's been 0 segments
0
since
segments.
we broke on time.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. You're in the zone with Jason Anderson.
Is this really Jason Anderson?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, so a shorty segment here. Srim Petra will be on at 1:55 as JJ Piccolo will be talking to the media today at 2 o'clock. He will be discussing the now managerial search and relieving Mike Matheny and Cal Eldred of their duties as pitching coach and manager. So we had the question in the previous segment with sports or leisure. And the question was, which Chiefs player has sacked Tom Brady the most times? The answer is Justin Houston with 4. The guess was Tamba Hali, who had 2. And then I told Josh, before we went to break, there were 4 other players that had multiple sacks against Tom Brady. 4 other players. 5 players had 2, and then Justin Houston had 4.
I had Justin Houston. I flashed you the 5-0. Right. That would have gotten me to Johnny's. That's important.
That's right.
And I would have had Tamba as my second guess, so I would have had him on the list with 2.
4 other players in a Chiefs uniform that has sacked Tom Brady more than one time.
I don't feel great about any of these, but I'm gonna let my shots fly here.
Okay.
Does Chris Jones have 2?
Chris Jones has 2.
Did D Ford get 2?
He did not.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, he really wanted that second one.
Yeah, I sure did.
Sorry.
This is just a timeline when I don't feel good about it at all, but did Jared Allen get him?
Jared Allen got 2.
He got 2. Thank God. Okay, here's
Jared Allen got 2.
You said there was one that wasn't as obvious, and I feel okay about it. Did Alan Bailey get him twice?
No, but he did get him once, I believe.
I felt great about him getting him once.
I went in the break and searched for my scratch piece of paper that I listed every single sack of Tom Brady in the games that the Chiefs have played against him.
Can I get a hint on the weird one then? I'm missing 2 still, because D4 didn't get one, right?
Yeah, you're missing 2. You're missing one that you'll hear the name and go, oh, yeah, but it wouldn't be right at the top of your head going, oh, well, this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy.
Can I get a hint on that guy?
His first name is 4 letters.
Eric Warfield. Wow, incredible.
His first name is Eric.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who? Sorry, who? Oh,
I believe we had him on the show during the pandemic shutdown times.
Oh, really?
When we were doing the Where Are They Now series during the shutdown.
Is it
Eric Berry?
Nope.
That would have been a better guess. I already asked if it was anybody.
But his last name is only 5 letters.
Is it Hicks?
Eric Hicks.
Boy, I had Eric Hicks in my head as soon as you said Eric. I was like, oh boy, I don't know if that's the right name. Okay, I could have been a million years.
And you are missing one person
annoying.
Who is randomly the only person to sack Brady in the playoffs. Chiefs have recorded 1 sack against Tom Brady in the playoffs, and this person did it.
But he has him twice.
He's got him twice, one in the regular season, one in the playoffs.
Well, I almost wrote down Frank Clark, but didn't think okay.
Frank Clark. He's got him twice, one in the regular season, one in the playoffs. The only sack against Brady in the playoffs is Frank Clark.
Did he get him in the Super Bowl?
He got him in the Super Bowl.
So what I was doing there is I just don't think I could pick anybody on that Super Bowl team because I just don't remember Tom Brady ever having much trouble. But
oddly enough, the one time the Chiefs have sacked Tom Brady in the playoffs came in a game in which they got their brains beat in.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Right? So,
yeah, I fully thought about Frank Clark, and I went D Ford instead. I went with a different 5-5.
Jones, Clark, number 55. D Ford.
I should have just said 55. I should have erased D Ford and said 55.
5-5. But you were joking, and you said Breeland Speaks, and I said no. But Breeland Speaks is one of the Chiefs that has sacked Tom Brady. So.
He's never on the ground.
You really can tell when Beards isn't bleeping listening to the show. If you say Breeland Speaks and Beards doesn't say...
Never on the ground.
Then you know Beards isn't listening. It's a canary in the coal mine for if Beards is listening or not.
Also, if Breeland Speaks hadn't thrown Tom Brady and let him go...
Never on the ground.
Would have been a sack.
Should have put him on the ground.
It would have been Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Jared Allen, Tamba Hali, Eric Hicks, Breeland Speaks.
Never on the ground.
Incredible. Would have been so good.
It would have been, see? Brett Veach knew what he was doing.
The pick was justified.
He drafted somebody that was going to sack Tom Brady.
Well, it's just hard to bring down a quarterback when you yourself are
never on the ground.
Well, we are done. We hand it over on the other side of the break to the program with Seren Petro. He's next. JJ Piccolo at 2.
Hi, guys. It's Andrew with...